Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here at the 26th edition of the Ouray Ice Festival, ready for the finals of this prestigious elite mixed climbing competition. The past 2 days have seen the best climbers in North America competing for their spot in this grand finale on these iconic walls. Over the next few hours, almost anything could happen. What and how? That's in the hands of the athletes. What we can promise you is that whatever does happen, you'll be seeing the best of the action from wherever you are tuned in. Welcome to Colorado, welcome to the San Juan Mountains, and welcome to Ouray. It's been an amazing week of climbing during the qualifying rounds of this year's Ouray Elite Mixed Climbing Competition at the Ouray Ice Park here in southwest Colorado. Over the past 2 days, we've seen strong performances from all of the 46 competitors. 16-year-old Keenan Griscom is undoubtedly one of the most notable stories to come out of the men's competition. He topped out both routes with incredible times, in addition to Tyler Kempney, Kevin Lindlaw and Cody Stevenson. For the men, all 8 finalists are or have been World Cup climbers, including Liam Foster, Thomas Gerlein, JJ, and Andrew Lamb, who rounds out the field of finalists. Wes Fowler was a favourite going into the event, but an early fall kept him out of the finals. Even with a great climb on the second route, it just wasn't enough. For the women, we saw some spectacular performances, including World Cup climber Corey Buhay, who is consistently top-notch, giving her the #1 qualifying spot going into the finals. Newcomers Keiko Tanaka, Ros Reynolds and Spartan champion Nicole Miracle came out of the gate with strong climbs. Unfortunately, Nicole had an early fall on the second route, helping her out to the finals qualifying position. The women's final lineup is completed by Lauren Chartel, Beth Goralski, Angela Limbach, Catalina Shirley and Lindsay Hastings. We've witnessed some of the fastest times to the top of the tower, and everything changes for the finals. It's down to just 8 men and 8 women vying for the top spot in first place on the podium. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the women's elite mixed climbing finalists. Out first will be Lindsay Hastings, followed by Kat Shirley, Angela Limbach, Beth Goralski, Lauren Chartel, Ros Reynolds, Keiko Tanaka, and Corey Buhay. My name is Liam Lonsdale, and it's my absolute pleasure to be with you all this morning. Coming up very soon, we're going to take a look at the routes. Here they are. And while we look at those, I'd like to welcome Vince Anderson, my co-commentator today, professional climber and 2016 PLA d'Or winner. Vince, good morning.
Good morning, Liam, and good morning, afternoon, evening to everyone else, wherever and whenever you're watching. So
we're looking at that route there. You see the blue line on the right, the men's climbs up Mighty Aphrodite. The red line on the left, that climbs up on the pure ice structure, and then they break up onto this tower. You've set this competition, you've climbed in this competition. What's that tower like in terms of difference to what they're going to be climbing below?
Well, it changes dramatically in that you're climbing on a true mixed climb with rock, real rock, and slippery, in obvious holds on the bottom, and then you get onto the artificial tower, which it's like going from an outdoor sport climb to an indoor gym climb. They're radically different climbs.
And you know, when we talk about radically different climbs, we're talking about hold condition. Let's talk about the hold condition now. As you can see on the lens of the camera there, and of course with that great shot, it appears to be snowing, Vince.
It's snowing pretty heavily here in Ouray, and it will continue to do so during the day, and it will make particularly the women's start on the ice a little more tricky, maybe not treacherous, but it could be slippery for them. At least on the mixed climb, the Mighty Aphrodite is steep enough. There won't be as much accumulation of snow on that route for the men.
Getting some really nice shots there of the bottom of both routes. You can just see through the snow the quick draws leading the way. Okay, so there is our first athlete. It's Lindsay Hastings, 28 years old, from Minneapolis. Lindsay has been a US team member, qualified in 8th place yesterday. Getting herself set up. Ladies will have 10 minutes to climb this route. And so she kicks in, moves that first tool, and here we go. Her time has begun.
Lindsay's wisely climbing, just using the hooks, not trying to swing too much into the ice. Those tools she has are really designed for that upper portion of the route, as you know, and unfortunately not as well suited for the pure ice.
So there she goes, moving up through that lower ice section, and you'll see those blue lines sprayed onto the ice. Those are scoring lines, so as she passes each one, it's classed as a new part of the route, and therefore a slightly different position in the rank. You can see our first quick draw is pre-clipped for safety. Of course, safety paramount importance here.
It will be interesting to see if the snow continues today, how it affects this portion of the route. As you can tell, it's starting to accumulate some. Typically, the route might get easier as more people pass by, but with more and more snow, it could get even harder for the people to come later.
Well, there's only one way for people to find out, and that's to stay tuned. Here we see her making that first clip, and there she goes. It's really nice to see pure ice as part of an ice climbing competition. I have to say, Vince, from my years on the ice climbing competition circuit, it's actually more often than not that there isn't ice. So seeing a route full of ice at the bottom is definitely true to form. I like that. What about you?
Yeah, it really brings it back to the roots of what the sport's all about. Obviously, as we've found, ice climbing in and of itself isn't particularly difficult for athletes of this ability. It's still somewhat dangerous for the person to lead it, although it isn't here. However, to make it more difficult, you know, people have had to make the routes on the artificial towers, and so the ice, for what it's worth, is somewhat of a lost art form in the high end of the competitive aspects of the sport.
Yeah, nice to see them having to flex all of their skills. So Lindsay Hastings now moving steadily up that lower part of the route, and you can see she has two options here. She can go left or right following those ice smears, but she can't go too far left. You'll see the red spray line. That's her boundary. If she crosses that or even touches it, that will be the end of her route. Lindsay, being a seasoned competitor, knows that. I don't expect to see her slip up there. Moving up.
Yeah, they put the they put those red boundaries there, as many know, to avoid the temptation for the competitors to take a slightly easier route around the side there.
So here she goes into that slightly steeper section.
This is the only spot of really any difficulty for the climbers on the ice portion, the slight overhang of the ice.
And there we are. Very good morning, Vince. You can see us now on your screens, tuned in wherever you are. I'm here in California, believe it or not, through the wonders of technology. Of course, 2020 and the start of 2021 tainted somewhat, and all changed thanks to that there coronavirus. I'm broadcasting live from California. Vince is on site in Ouray through the magic of technology. Looking really strong there, Lindsay, just moving through that steeper ice section. About 4 minutes of elapsed for her, so she still has 6 minutes to go.
Yes, and happily for me, I'm in the comforts of a warm indoor space. Looks like a different world just outside the window here.
Yeah, nice to have the heater on, although I'm feeling a little too warm with my sweater over here. The old West Coast, Best Coast is giving us some of its winter sunshine today. So moving up over that next blue line into the next scoring zone, and you can see her quick draw above her that she needs to make the clip, and you get an idea now for how close she is to that plywood tower. For the first time in the history of the competition, the athletes are going to be able to kick into that plywood tower. And Vince, maybe you could explain what kicking in is and what they had to do before and what they can do now.
Absolutely. Well, the panels of wood on there, as you can imagine, you can penetrate them with your crampons, and you could with your ice axes as well. That's not allowed for them to swing their axes in, but they can kick in with their feet, and that gives them a little more purchase on the overhanging wall to simulate a little bit of ice climbing motion where you're kicking, although it is different. You'll see on the rock below where the men climb later, they won't kick into the rock, but in the past they have not had that aspect of the competition to kick into the wood and to in the effort to try to keep it as much like true mixed climbing as possible. However, in the World Cup, it's a different story. People kick into the wood, and they have been doing so now for the last few decades of competition in that format, and there's a lot of desire to try to modernize this competition and make it more like the World Cup competitions that many of these athletes have been involved with before. So that is now a new format here in Ouray.
Indeed, it'll be interesting to see how the World Cup seasoned competitors fare with the kicking in compared to others, perhaps with a little bit less experience. It's certainly something that can be a real indicator of speed. Often less experienced mixed climbers, or let's say competitive mixed climbers, take one or two swings to really kick those crampons in and then feel like safe and be able to move on with power. Whereas with the more, let's say, seasoned competitors, that kick in first time and just really yard off those crampons. So yeah, very interesting and very interested rather to see what happens. Reaching across there for that right hand.
It does add a new dynamic. I know that we saw with the preliminary climbs, the qualifying rounds, a lot of the competitors that you spoke of, Liam, with less experience using the points into the wood, kicking into the wood, did have more difficulty, and many of them didn't make it on to the finals. And even to the point where many of them that have done this a lot, they have very specialized front points that are made for wood, not really for the rock and the ice. And so there was quite a scramble for some folks to try to get that point for their fruit boots.
For sure. Well, Lindsay now moving rightwards onto that plywood structure. You see her feet below the structure on the ice. She can use that area there. That's totally fine. She may not use the underside of the structure. I doubt that Lindsay's going to use that. You see her reaching up to make that clip. The right hand just hanging down there on that blue. Looks like an intellect hold to me, shaking out. And what we're going to see, I would imagine, from Lindsay is her just getting a little bit of composure before she really starts to accelerate. Around 2 minutes of time left for Lindsay right now. Reaches over with that right hand into that hook placement. She has that left hand as a backhand right now. Another intellect hold there. Intellect being the brand of holds that use those really, really small metal plates with the pre-drilled divots. Really, really very technical to use, and also kind of insecure for the athlete. So let's see how she moves up to that next one. In the reverse grip there, first time. Just changing. No, a little bit of indecisiveness here. Time ticking, about a minute left.
Yeah, you're starting to see her use her feet in the wood to try to get a better body position. Oh.
And there she goes. So reached up with that left hand, the right hand popped, she lost her feet, didn't quite have the power in the right shoulder to take it. Great effort from Lindsay Hastings. Of course, that'll put her into first place because she's the only athlete to have climbed yet. But what an amazing effort to start off our women's elite mixed finals. Really amazing there from Lindsay, and we're going to see a replay of that in just a second. Oh, she lowers down to the ground. Look at that snow. It's really coming down now. Okay, so started off the route nice and strong. Very confident in that lower ice. It'll be interesting to see how the pace differs through the athletes as we move up the field. Of course, athletes climbing in reverse order. 8th qualifier climbing first, and the first place qualifier will climb last. And of course, this was that slightly steeper section where she has the option to go left or right through that small cave in the ice. She actually opted to go straight through the middle, bridged between both sides. And then off she went onto that upper plywood tower. Oh, and there was the fall. Of course, that left hand just missing the hold, a little bit inaccurate, and didn't quite have the power in the shoulder to hold that body position as she missed, and that was her out of there.
What a great effort by Lindsay Hastings. Let's hear a little bit more about how she got into ice climbing.
My name is Lindsay Hastings, and I'm an ice climber who specializes in speed ice climbing. I'm in grad school and working full-time, so I haven't trained a whole lot, but I've been ice climbing for 3 years. When I first told my mom I wanted to get into ice climbing, she gave me a hard no because she didn't want me to die. And the first time I came home for my first day of ice climbing, I came home with blood all over my face from an ice chunk that hit me in the temple, but just fell in love with it. When I'm climbing, like, nothing else in the world matters, and I love just getting into that flow state. It's just you and the ice, and every move has to be executed perfectly so that you don't fall. You know, you've got all these sharp, pointy objects, and you've got a rope that's your safety line that's keeping you off the ground. So yeah, I mean, you can stab yourself, you can slice the rope, ice can fall on you from any direction, so there's lots of things to be aware of. I'll be competing in the lead competition and speed. Most nervous about the lead competition. I'm kind of nervous on the sharp end, but usually in competitions I'm able to snap out of that and really push myself. For the lead, I want to get as high as I can and just feel proud of the climb that I did, and for speed I would love to make the podium.
And so there we are back in the snowy Ouray Ice Park, getting a real nice look at that tower there. There's a real thick layer of snow come down. Vince, do we know how many inches have fallen?
It looks about 2 to 3 inches, but we're expecting perhaps as much more by the end of the day.
Wow. Okay. You will have heard, leading us into the to that clip of Lindsay, you'll have heard Brooke, who is our on-the-ground reporter. We'll be going back and forth with Brooke throughout the day. She'll be giving us interviews and insights into how the athletes are feeling after their climbs. So welcome to the broadcast, Brooke, and of course we'll catch up with her probably after our next climber. Of course, next climber will be Kat Shirley. Kat Shirley, our youngest female competitor. See our judges there at the base of the route. Kendra Stritch is our head of the jury of judges today, UIAA official judge. Also very talented climber herself. Competed for Team USA for many, many years. If you're wondering what's going on, that's the team making sure that the quick draws are all in place so that the athletes can clip safely. You'll notice that the belayers and judges are all masked. Big thank you, of course, to the Colorado Lottery, as you see on the screen there, one of our big sponsors. When I talk about adversity, this competition has really faced it all. It was questionable whether it would go ahead or not for a long time, but the organizers have been motivated throughout to make sure it did, and they've gone through so many strict measures to mitigate risk, to maximize funding, and here we are today. So big kudos to them and a big thanks to all our sponsors. So there she is, 18-year-old Kat Shirley. 0 ape index, so that means she's as tall as she is as long as her arms, based out of Durango, Colorado. And here she goes.
Yes, for a lot of people, they may be wondering why the ape index would matter, and particularly in this sport, the longer limbs can make a difference to reaching a slightly higher hold. As a matter of fact, even the ice axes they are using are limited in how long they can make them to comply with World Cup standards.
Indeed,
too much length would give them too much of an advantage, perhaps.
Exactly, and the standards don't often change, but they did change, I believe, 2 years ago. We had a smaller box, The box is a wooden box that's made and goes to all of the competitions that the tools have to fit in. The same with the crampons as well. The front points are only allowed to be a certain length, just to make sure that everyone is on as even a playing field as possible. 18-year-old Kat Shirley, who is from Durango but lives in Boulder, climbing up now, kind of that slabby section of ice.
Oddly enough, those slabby sections may prove to be, at least mentally, the most difficult for these competitors. Less secure, than they probably feel better on these overhanging sections, particularly because they won't be covered in snow.
Exactly. And it's interesting. I was just thinking to myself how we're going to really, I think the pace of these athletes in the ice section is going to determine how well we see them do in that upper section, how fresh they are when they reach the plywood, how much time they've got left to compose themselves. I think that swift movement through the ice section, Vince, is going to be a real determining factor in the success in that upper part. What do you think?
I agree with you, Liam. You will get a good sense for who's feeling at their best by essentially how quickly they can move up this ice and conserve that energy for the more difficult climbing above.
So moving now to that right side with the infamous Mighty Aphrodite on the right of her there. That will be the men's finals route. We'll give you more information about that later. Last year's competition, Kat placed 4th. She'll be out to see if she can better that today.
Obviously, this competition is not a race, but time is a factor. As you mentioned, there is a time limit for the competitors, and so they do try to move as quickly as they can, not only to conserve energy, but to make it within the time limit.
Indeed they do, and for the viewers at home, the clock on your screen is quote-unquote unofficial. It's a close indicator of how much time is left. So don't rely on that one. If you see that get down to 0 or there's still time on and they're told to time out, it's within a second or two of accuracy. But it hopefully gives you an idea about how much time our athletes have to climb. Moving up now into that next scoring zone, and that plywood structure beckoning ever closer just above her on that right-hand side.
And with the exception of the clips like the one Kat just made there, she's moving pretty smoothly and continuously through this ice, which looks very good for her.
Moving nicely now into that upper section of the ice, and you see it really starts to get more vertical, a little bit steeper there before reaching that overhanging tower. Move through that lower section really quickly, starting to slow down and climb a little more cautiously, I'd say, in this upper part. You see her just checking the ice with her tools there, making sure there's no fracture lines, making sure it sounds good. Vince, maybe you can tell us, this is farmed ice. How does it differ from quote-unquote natural ice?
Well, it is ice, it is frozen water, but the way it got there is different from how most of the natural waterfalls are formed. It's clearly not a waterfall. Most of the ice climbs you'd find in the backcountry and in the mountains are slight trickles of water that seep out from the mountainside and then gradually freeze. This farmed ice, however, is made essentially by taking water out of a shower head or a sprinkler head and spraying it over the wall. And it does a good job of covering as much of the rock as you can with water that will then freeze up. But what it can do from time to time is capture some air within it and create a little bit more of an aerated ice that wouldn't feel as solid per se as if you took a bucket of water and let it freeze up outside, where it's just completely solid. There's often a little bit of air pockets embedded in this. It can make for easier more ease getting your axis stuck into there, but occasionally too it can fracture, or your ice axis can shear through. So it is climbed with a touch more caution than natural ice.
Great insights there, and here Kat makes that clip, the first in that plywood structure. And you see her with that really strong left hand position reaching out now. She needs to be strong in the shoulders to take that right hand and transfer all of her body weight down onto it. You see her stepping below the plywood tower. You see a little bit of wobble in the head of the axe. What the athletes have to be careful of here is that the pick doesn't pop. Pick shift is something that it can be very unforgiving on these very, very small artificial holds. The pick, of course, being the blade or the tip that extends from the handle of the axe. Matches in with the left hand to take a shake there on that second hold. And you see she's right at the base of that tower. Still plenty of climbing to go. Three minutes approximately left for Kat Shirley. Nice foot position in there to really extend away from that left hand. Solid kicks first time so that she can take that right hand hook. Look at that nice high grip with the right hand there in the hook position. Lindsay Hastings with a much lower position in that hold, and we did see Lindsay pop here, so let's see what Kat does. Oh, look at that. Really, really strong into that Stein pull.
She's reading this very well so far.
Couldn't agree with you more, Vince. She's climbing like a total pro. Taking a second to shake.
She's making very good use of the variety of grip positions on her axe too, to maximize reach and or body position.
Yeah, she has that extra trigger as well on there, which is interesting to see. Able to use that as a rest and a little bit higher grip. Now you see her on that small volume. Back into the low grip with the left hand. Great composure. Really nice to see those open hips, giving her the resting position.
She looks very strong to me so far. I'm not seeing signs of fatigue yet.
No, I totally agree, Vince, and I think what we're going to see now is either an acceleration in pace, which is going to get her to the top, or she's going to time out. I don't think 1 minute 25 at her current pace is going to be enough. So let's see what's going on. Of course, we don't have a big crowd here. It's a closed event thanks to the coronavirus, so there's not a big crew of people yelling, "You've got 1 minute, come on, let's go." The judges will announce 1 minute usually, so let's see if that does happen. She's struggling to make the clip. And that clip is crucial for the scoring. You'll often see athletes reaching up high like that. Even though it's inefficient in terms of climbing, that clip gives them a next level of scoring. And so by making that clip, they're automatically giving themselves more points. It's a very, very smart move from 18-year-old Kat Shirley.
Yes, and you notice with Kat's style of the ice axe in the mouth that it makes it so that she cannot put the rope in her mouth when she's trying to make those clips. And I think that gave her a little bit of the difficulty she had there in making that last clip.
So takes the hold on the edge of that triangular volume there and rotates around to the front side of the plywood tower. You can see above her that hanging box. Oh, and there she goes. Loses a tool, takes a donk on the head, I think, maybe. Just pops off as her time is running out. Great effort from Kat Shirley. Really, really strong effort there from the 18-year-old. Puts her into first place again ahead of Lindsay Hastings. We'll have to see how that fares her in the rankings. But what a bar to set. A very high bar indeed. We'll be looking at a replay in just a second. We'll be able to review the best of her action. Vince, quick thoughts?
Yes, I think she did climb well on the ice, but as we noticed, she ran out of time higher up on the mixed climbing portion. And between that and having some difficulty with the clip, that all added up to her, I think, essentially timing out and making that last clip somewhat in desperation to get one more clip in.
Yeah, really great effort there. And let's take a quick look at that action again. So, as I said earlier, she powered through that lower section of the ice. She was really motoring, found good pace and good flow, and reached that steep section there, that little ice cave that you can see ahead of her in no time at all. Saved lots of time for the plywood section above. She did slow down on the vertical part of the ice just before the plywood tower. Smart moves though, she was making good placements, checking every hold. Didn't want to blow it in that ice there, and as Vince alluded to earlier, the snow on those holds making it perhaps a little trickier to see where you have to go. And then she stepped out onto that plywood tower, and this is where she really came into her own. I have to say, Kat Shirley looked so comfortable on those tricky dry tooling holds. Moved very comfortably, very strong, great composure throughout. There was a nice high clip from that Stein where we saw Lindsay Hastings fall. And look at that, so strong as she moved into that upper section. And those two hanging barrels above at the top of the route, so you can see how close she really was. There was that high clip that cost her a second, perhaps a little bit more energy as well. And there was that fall. Great effort from her. So our next athlete will be sixth place qualifier, Angela Limbach. There is 18-year-old Kat Shirley. Looking pretty happy with herself, so she should be. Vince, I would say that Kat Shirley has a bright future ahead of her as our youngest female athlete. What would you think?
Absolutely. At 18 years old, to climb as well as she did, she looked like she was in her own on the mixed portion, and I can see nothing but doing better, you know, as she enters her 20s. I would expect to see her come back here and do quite well in the future.
Would love to see Kat Shirley climbing just that well in front of a full house. Pretty sure Ouray would have blown the roof off seeing her climb so well there.
One thing we are missing is that crowd element, and you are absolutely right. The people would be pretty excited to see Kat get as high as she did on the tower. This would be a lot more palpable excitement that the competitors would feel as well when they're climbing, hearing the other people cheering.
Yeah, indeed. It does change things slightly. Here is Angela Limbach, hometown New Berlin, 30 years old, seasoned competitor as well. Angela and I traveled on many, many journeys around Asia while she was representing Team USA and I was representing the broadcasts. Be interesting to see how she performs today.
I think what we're seeing here is perhaps a little more effort to move quick on the ice, and I suspect that those that do well on the women's route today are the ones that can dispense with this ice portion in relatively short time, so that they have the time and the energy to really devote to completing the mixed portion up high.
Yeah, definitely moving quicker through that low section. Angela's been climbing for 16 years. Plenty of experience under her belt.
I think we're seeing some of this experience paying off and knowing strategy to make the most of this, to move as quickly as she can through this section here.
Her best results in the World Cup was a 17th position in lead in China 2019 season. She's placed second as well in the Great Lakes Mixed Comp. Was also second in the North American Championships back in 2018. There's some more of those wonderful sponsors: the Colorado Film Office, Colorado Office of Business Funding and Incentives, the Colorado Tourism Office, and the Colorado Office of Business Outdoor Recreation. The state of Colorado really getting behind the Ouray Ice Park and the Ouray Ice Festival to bring you this competition. Of course, this is one of the only competitions happening in ice climbing world, pretty much the Western world this year. There's only one more competition happening that will be broadcast live, and that will be showing on Monday, in fact, not tomorrow, the day after. That will be the UIAA Ice Climbing European Championships in Champagny-en-Vanoise in France. That will be brought to you by Outdoor Research, and so if you do want to tune into that, you can watch on Monday at 5 p.m. GMT or 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. You'll be seeing the best European athletes in the world competing. So we can go from the North American continent to the European continent within 72 hours. Angela now moving up into that steep section of ice, opting to stay right here where we saw Lindsay Hastings bridge up the middle of that groove. Vince, what would your tactics be at this point?
Well, I would want to see where the most obvious holds are. I would not worry if it's steep or less steep. Mostly, what can I get my axe in the quickest and keep on moving? And it looks like she's taking some time trying to find that on that right side and may have reconsidered her strategy a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. So let's see what Angela does here. Look at that, placing that backhand in the underside of the ice there.
Yes, she knows she has time, so it didn't look like she panicked there by having to change route. She's back on track. As Angela gets higher, she's approaching the tower now, and I suspect you're going to see people, it's almost as if they have a sigh of relief when they get onto that, knowing that it's a more known entity for them, for a lot of them, to get on. Even though the climbing will be technically more difficult, it's something they're more familiar with.
So with just over 5 minutes remaining for Angela Limbach, she gets onto that vertical ice section just below the plywood tower. Still seems to have that nice, consistent pace. Not really wasting any time, not rushing things. So far, so good.
Angela wisely clipping at a convenient position instead of trying to waste energy from a position where the clip is difficult.
Sticking with nice flowing momentum. Very close to that plywood structure now. You can see it just entering the frame in the top right hand corner of your screen. We'll be able to stand on top of the slab that she's currently got her tools in. Take a breath and a moment to compose herself before breaking out onto that head wall.
Yes, and Angela wisely is trying to find the secure placements before, and now is trying to make the clip. So we've already noticed that the clipping in and of itself can be a difficult task for many of the people up here, and that's part of the strategy, is knowing when and how to clip so you don't waste time and energy doing that.
Indeed. It could be really interesting to actually measure the split times between the clips if you want to get really nerdy. And you can see how athletes move between them.
In the ideal world, they're going to clip right at their waist when they can, for time's sake. Obviously, as the strategy goes, as they get higher up, because the clips count, they'll try to clip something as high as they can just to get an additional clip.
There you go. You see her feet speed up straight away when that right hand goes into the dry tooling hold. Kicking across onto the ice below that plywood structure, making that reach up off the left hand to take that hold there with the right. So yeah, that right hand going into the high grip, little foot slip there, but she's composed and placing those feet in the plywood, kicking in. You see it took her 2 kicks there. Those are the extra kicks I was talking about. Those are the ones that can slow you down and waste precious energy. But let's see what Angela does with just over 2 minutes left on the clock. Takes that next hold with the left hand in the backhand position. Kicking nice and high with the left foot. Really strong shoulder there on that left hand. Keeping the stability, keeping her body in control to take that right hand hook.
It's hard to see, but her right foot is on a completely different angled wall, and it's a little harder to get the foot into it as easily.
Interesting to see Angela there using the middle grip on her tools, where we saw Kat Shirley using the high grip on that move. So strong there from Angela to take that Stein from the slightly lower position.
She's looking really strong on this middle portion of the tower.
If she wants to take that first position ahead of Kat Shirley, she's going to have to accelerate now and shift a gear. Places that left hook on and the left hand there. Look at that, takes that high grip with the left hand, which gives her just a couple more inches so she can make that high clip. Oh, spoke too soon.
Yes. She was able to grab the rope with her other thumb to help make that clip that Kat had difficulty with.
Really smart move there from Angela. You see her matching in with that left tool in the backhand. This will give her the ability to push off those feet and take a nice high reach onto the tip of that triangular volume.
Now it's likely a race against the clock for her to try to get as high as she can in the next half a minute.
She needs to make this clip. If she can make this clip, that will put her into first place. There it is.
Got that. Now let's see if she can make a few more moves beyond that.
Oh, big reach with the right hand, and look at that. She catches the tip of the box. Great effort from Angela Limbach. Cuts loose 100%.
She caught that just as she fell.
Absolutely amazing work there.
Now
Needs
she's
to throw a foot
struggling to get
over.
on there.
Oh, and
Wow.
there she goes.
Great effort.
Really brilliant climbing there from Angela Limbach, and saved the thrill for the end. You see the smile on her face. She's delighted with that performance, and so she should be. You see that look on her face. She knew that she was very, very almost off. Managed to catch that hold with the right hand. Didn't quite have enough left in the tank to kick those feet back in or throw it over the arm for a fig 4. But nevertheless, she climbed so well in the closing section. Let's review that performance. So low part of the route, as we said before, really nice momentum, a really nice movement. Not too fast that she was rushing, not too slow that she was wasting time. Moved through that lower ice section really clean, and exactly what you would expect from a seasoned World Cup competitor. It was at this point here that she had a little slip up and lost her route finding, if you like, but did manage to regain the route very quickly and was back on track to move up into that plywood section. This was where Angela really came into her own. As she got onto the plywood, she looked a little shaky, and then she found that flow, moved up that arête there, and you see the right foot on the lower side of the wall, moved so well, and this was the moment, popped that left pick, but just caught the right hand in time. Managed to match in on the tool, great shoulder strength to pull that up, just didn't quite have enough in the tank to hold on and make another move. She was pretty close to timing out as well, but what an effort from Angela Limbach. Really wonderful climbing and very much deserving of the first place of the 3 athletes that have climbed already. Amazing, amazing work from the 30-year-old Team USA athlete.
This is Brooke Warren down at the base of the Uncompahgre Gorge, right below where all the climbers are making their runs. Angela Limbach just had a really exciting climb there. As you can see, it's snowing really hard, and you can see a lot of accumulation on my hat and my jacket. But let's hear a little bit more about the home of the Ouray Ice Park, Ouray, the city of Ouray.
I'm Marcus Van Meter from the city of Ouray, and I handle tourism, marketing, and messaging. Ouray is located in southwest Colorado in the San Juan Mountains, and they are some of the most epic mountains in Colorado. Ouray is called the Switzerland of America with our 13,000-foot peaks. The people that settled this originally thought there was a real resemblance to Switzerland. We get more days of sunshine here than Florida, so it's really popular with mountaineers coming for that great environment and that European kind of experience in their climbing. Ouray is a mountain mining town. It was founded on October 2nd, 1876 by miners that were looking for silver and gold during the boom. The history here is pretty steep in mining, and then it changed to tourism after the mining boom busted right before the First World War. Miners were here originally to try to get under the mountains. Most people come here now to get on top of our mountains. A lot of people come here in the summertime to explore our backcountry through jeeps and motorcycles and hiking and any way they can get around. In the wintertime, they come here to do the same thing, but with skis, snowshoes, and mountaineering. The attraction of the Ouray Ice Fest is super special. We get a ton of people here from all over the world to compete in some of the best ice climbing in the world. It is huge to us, and we are very proud as a community to be able to put this on every year, especially this year.
And so we're back in with the athletes now, and our next climber is Beth Goralski, 42 years old. Positive APE index, +1 there, hometown of Gypsum, Colorado. Beth Goralski is no stranger to this competition. Placed 6th here last year. Amazing effort that year, and of course 2018 she placed 4th. 2017 she placed 6th again. 2016 she placed 10th. I mean, she knows this competition, I would argue, better than any of the other athletes competing in this women's final. Vince, what do you know of Beth?
It's Kim.
Oh, we've got Kim. Great. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Liam.
Love that. Awesome. Kim, great to have you on board. If people are wondering why Vince has turned into a woman, we have Kim Reynolds here. Kim, such a warm welcome to the broadcast. What can you tell me about Beth?
About Beth, she's looking pretty smooth, trying to move quickly through this piece. I like her tights.
Yeah, those tights are what we call in Lancashire Bobby Dazzlers. Kim, the first time you climbed was 1982, and I believe it was right here in this very gorge. Is that correct?
It was in the gorge, that's correct. There's always been some water seeping down, forming a little bit of ice throughout the gorge.
What can you tell me about how this, let's say the gorge, the competition, the area, what's changed over the years?
Oh my goodness, it's such an evolution into a world-class climbing area. Piping the water through, creating shower heads, creating ice. Yeah, it's changing the whole dynamic of ice climbing, I think, over the years.
We saw some amazing performances already today. 3 athletes already climbed. We now have Beth Goralski on the wall. She's very, very high on the ice and now moving over to the right-hand side and making her way onto that plywood tower. 20 years of climbing under her belt. Let's see her put the experience to the test. So Kim, as we look at Beth climbing up onto this plywood tower, you actually founded the Chicks with Picks movement, is that correct?
I did. The vision started in 1999. At that point, we didn't see that many women out, setting up anchors, taking the lead. Women were just getting into the sport. So saw an opportunity to help women gain the skills that they needed to gain confidence to go out on their own.
And so, looking now at this incredible final with these immense athletes, what does that mean to you as someone that literally started a movement to try and bring more women into it? And now we have, Kat Shirley, 18 years old, absolutely crushing. We have Beth Gorelski, 42 years old, absolutely crushing. That must feel nice, right?
Yeah, it really demonstrates the evolution of the sport and how far we've come and how far women have come. I feel really excited to see these women up here.
Beth Gorelski now with that deep left-hand lock to place the right hook. You see she's got that in a front-side grip. A couple of the other athletes had that in a backside grip, but doesn't seem to be bothering her. She's into the Stein, using that positive ape index to her advantage. Matches in on that Stein so she can really crank on it. And there's her next clip.
It's great
Lots
to see
of time on the clock here for Beth Gorelski. She's about 3 minutes ahead of all the other athletes. Really cruised through that ice section in the lower half of the route. She's going to have so much time to play with here.
It's great to see Beth. She's one of our local gals. She's looking so strong today.
So she matches in with that left hand in the upper part of the tool. Takes that next hook with the right hand. And we saw Angela Limbach actually matching in with the left tool here, using it as like an opposing tool so that she could lay away off it and stand nice and high off that right foot. Let's see if Beth uses that same method. Of course, all these athletes had the chance to preview the route only with their eyes beforehand. It's what we call the route preview. They've never seen this climb before, and they are in isolation when the other athletes are competing, so they literally have to work it out as they go. Any knowledge or beta that we call it, that they share before the route, they have to remember that themselves. A little bit of time lost there to make that high clip, and you can see her really straining that left hand to make it. Bit of pick shift as well on that left hand, but keeps it secure. Locks the left tool in with the right one, just to take a second and compose herself. The pace in that lower section really giving her lots of buffer to just take a second here and catch her breath.
And really notice how she's trying to keep her arms straight because, Beth.
There she goes. Little pop there of the pick. She wasn't quite placed on it. Didn't have the underside of it as we've seen with the other athletes. She knows what happened there. You see her nodding. Such a shame, actually, Kim. She was so strong all the way through that.
She was looking so solid and so confident and so strong. And really rooting for her. I've known Beth for a while. She's a local gal, so it's just great to see her still competing and looking so good.
Yeah, I feel like that was an anticlimactic end, given how well she just climbed.
I think she could have gotten further. She'll be replaying that one in her head for a while.
Such is the sport of competitive ice climbing.
So true.
There is, of course, the beautiful canyon Let's take a quick look at that replay again. So stormed through that lower section, wasted no time at all, putting all those years of comp experience in Ouray to good use. Look at that, she was so calm there, and we actually missed that. She dropped her tool and had a spare with her. That was a deliberate move from Beth. She had ice tools for the ice section and dry tooling tools for the upper section. Sadly, it didn't pay off. Moved up and made that clip.
This is where she started to get tired. Her arms are a bit bent, and yeah, she really wants to straighten them out and conserve her energy. Ooh.
And of course, there was that pop. And if you are wondering about the dropping of the tools, that isn't something that's normally allowed. That's a Ouray-only rule. In the UIAA rules, if you were to drop any tool, then your attempt is deemed over. But here in Ouray, we like to switch things up a little bit. And so if athletes want to carry 2 pairs of tools, then they can do so. So that was Beth Goralski. She will be in 3rd place, I believe. We'll check on those results later on. And there is our next athlete. That's Lauren Chartel. Lauren qualified in joint 4th with Beth. Just cleaning off her fruit boots there. She prepares to begin her climb.
Doesn't get any prettier than that.
It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
So we wait for the start of that next route. Here she goes. Only 1 set of tools for Lauren Chartel. Moving nice and quickly through that lower section.
Yeah, notice she's not swinging. She's just trying to place her tools and move through it.
Yeah, those really aggressive picks on those very downturned tools are very difficult to swing. It's something that you often see in those World Cups when there is a swinging section. The athletes with the most aggressive tools are the ones that struggle. It requires a very different motion.
Yeah, she's not wasting any time.
Places that hook nicely with the right hand and big high steps. Keeps that momentum going. You see above her that small ice cave. It's the most challenging section of the ice. It's the part where the route is the least obvious. It requires a little bit of route reading and a little bit of steep climbing. A big bridge between the 2 sides and a backhand in the underside of the lip.
Still moving really well through that steep section. She's got to have one of the fastest times up there.
She is definitely looking very strong indeed. Lauren Chartel is competing for the first time in Ouray, I believe. Looking really composed. Some of our very, very gracious sponsors, Yeti, the North Face, Rab, Petzl and Asolo. As I've said already, this event would not be possible without their support, especially in the 2020-2021 season. All sorts of adversity have got in the way. Events have been cancelled, events have been postponed, seasons called off. but Ouray literally went to every possible measure, every possible length to keep this thing open. COVID tests for all the athletes, doctors on site making sure that everybody's following guidelines, and approval from the Colorado State medical governors to make sure that everything's happening right. It's really quite something to make sure that this event did happen. Kudos to the organizers. Really nice pace from Lauren here as she approaches the steepest section of the ice, that vertical upper part just below the plywood structure.
Liam, in the early days, there was just ice. This competition had mostly ice. And so the mixed climbing was introduced, and then the man-made feature. So it's really come a long way and changed.
It is amazing to see. And of course, this is the 26th edition of the Ouray Ice Festival. Kim, you competed in one of the earliest ones, am I right?
I did. I don't even remember what year it was, but it's when Jeff Lowe ran it. And we had both an ice competition and a mixed climbing competition. And then they took the combination for the winners. And all the mixed was on rock. So the introduction of the man-made feature makes the competition really exciting.
Yeah, it definitely adds a little je ne sais quoi to the action. And of course, it really is the separator. These athletes now so strong and so capable that they need these difficult and improbable moves to really put a separator in the field. Otherwise, we would just literally be working on speed.
Yeah, it's such an art now and such a dance. It's really amazing to see how far the competitions come.
Reaches over with that right hand, and she's in now on that plywood tower. This is where things can really start to ramp up. There's the right hand in the high grip to make that left hand clip.
Looking great. Resting now on that straight arm, moving well.
Makes those kicks into the plywood so that she can reach up off that left hand. Finds the hook with the right there, and you see, oh, almost a little slip there, but manages to keep going. Doesn't drop the tool. And she has that right hand hook in the backhand. You can see that from both angles now. It gives you a better feeling of what that right foot looks like. It's not so easy to just kick into the plywood because the face overhangs in such a way. Into the Stein. Matches that tool with both hands so she can crank up and make that next clip.
She's looking really strong.
Taking a second to compose herself. Just over 3.5 minutes on the clock for her. Definitely enough time to make it to the top. She needs to shift gears and move quickly. And look at that, skipping a move there. Just using that Stein to crank. And you would hope that the setters had thought about this. Of course, Marcus Garcia, our head setter at this event, done a really good job so far. Marcus stepping in at the last second for Nathan Kutcher, who sadly couldn't be with us, again due to the coronavirus. His home state of Ontario, Canada, locked down just a couple of days before he was due to leave and make the journey here. And Marcus, very capable, came in, saved the day, and has put on a brilliant show so far. Up into that left hand there, the hook over that tenuous hold. Lauren Chartel at the point where we saw Beth Goralski fall. Makes the next clip. Still a ways to go if she wants to be into the first place position. Angela Limbach was really motoring at this point.
Here she goes.
So, kicks in, leans off the, oh, and it's popped again! And you know, I was just about to say, she doesn't have that left tool on the backhand, she has it as a hook. And the side pull is what I think the athletes need there. There's just too much movement in the shoulder. It's very, very difficult to keep that pick very still as you make the big lunge up and right. And that is what brought Lauren Chartel off there. Kim, what did you make of that one?
Oh, she was looking so strong. I thought she was going to move through those moves at the upper top and get up high. She looked great. Yeah. Thank you, Liam. Thanks for having me here for a few minutes and coming back to the ice world. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for coming, Kim. We absolutely loved having you along. Thanks for sharing some of your insights and knowledge. And enjoy the rest of the competition.
I will. Have a great day.
You too. And so that was, of course, Lauren Chartel climbing with Kim Reynolds, founder of the Chicks with Picks movement, joining me in the co-commentary. There is that beautiful Ouray Ice Park, covered in quite a dusting of snow now. And so she makes her way out of the canyon. And there's our next athlete, Ros Reynolds. Ros is another rookie to the competition. "28 years old out of Boise, Idaho. Good positive ape index there, and 3 inches.
Plus 3 inches. That will give Roz a nice reach.
It will indeed. Welcome back, Vince.
Yes, it was fantastic watching the last 2 competitors, both of which have a bit more experience on pure ice and traditional mixed, and you really saw that play out on the bottom portion of the route.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. They really did have the speed and the confidence through the ice section, and then a couple of slip-ups, pretty much identical slip-ups on that upper section where the mixed style, the dry tooling style, that comp style just eluded them with the mistake on that hold just at the big move out right to the triangular volume. What did you make of that, Vince?
Yes, as we spoke earlier, one of the big differences this year is having the World Cup style with kicking into the plywood, and it is something to get used to for those that haven't done it before. It's quite different than really true mixed climbing on rock, and it's also different from climbing on ice. And I think that experience of knowing how to kick properly and what position it can put your feet relative to your hips and arms really makes a difference. And obviously, I think that contributed to some of that difficulty in just getting the right body position to take those holds as you transition around the top of the tower up there, where the last 2 competitors both had some difficulty.
Interesting to see Ros swinging her tools a little bit there, rather than, yeah, I thought she was going to do it again, right on cue. Rather than looking for those placements. Doesn't seem to be slowing it down too much, though. Fun fact about Ros, she actually mitigates the threat of avalanches using explosives as her day job. See if she can bring some of that explosive power to her climbing today.
All these competitors tune their equipment very specifically to their own preferences. Some of them may even take some of the front teeth that help grip the ice off a little bit And if that's the case, they may find themselves wanting to get just a little bit more purchase by swinging it some into these pre-placed holds. So there are going to be some differences to how each one of the competitors on the ice wants to go about it.
See there that she's making some nice gains in height, moving up to the underside of that plywood structure. She climbs onto that slabby section just next to the little ice cave. This is where really the only technical challenge of the ice section is. A little bit of route finding required, and you see her just trying to figure out where to go precisely there.
Many may notice too, we've had a variety of types of ice axes used. You can see Roz is using a little bit more of a traditional rock mixed climbing ice axe, where some of them have had more of the multi-tiered triggered, very drooped head dry tooling comp style tool. So they all have different advantages and disadvantages.
What would you opt for, Vince, in a competition like this? Knowing what you know, seeing what you've seen, would you be going with something like this, the kind of traditional tool, or would you be going for a super aggressive comp tool?
I think for myself, I have a lot of experience on the traditional type of climbing and less on the structured wood climbing, so that would be my hardest part, and I would probably get the tool that would help me the most, where I would have the most difficulty, which would be up on the tower. So for me, it would be one of the more specific tools to that. That being said, at the end of the day, you're going to go with whatever you feel the most comfortable in. You certainly don't want to try something for the first time when you're out here on the course. You'd want to go with what you feel the best with.
For sure. Stick to what you know sometimes. Making that next clip as she advances to the vertical section of the ice. These athletes competing for a $7,500 prize money bucket. Of course, the money's one incentive, but bragging rights are another. The Ouray Ice Festival, one of the best known climbing competitions globally. As I've said already, 26th edition here today. And you're watching the women's finals with Roz Reynolds climbing. And just for comparison, Roz now with 4.5 minutes on the clock there or thereabouts, still on the ice. Beth Goralski had an extra minute on her and was on the plywood by this point. That's that difference between competition experience on the ice, climbing experience on the ice, just that pure pace through the lower section to get them up onto that plywood tower.
Yes, and from what it looked like, Beth may have brought, she had 2 sets of ice axes somehow. Looked like she had one specifically for the ice and another pair clipped onto a harness that she transitioned with up onto the tower.
Yeah, that's exactly what she did. We talked about that, how she opted to go for a separate set of tools for the dry tooling section and her ice tools for the ice section. Best of both worlds, I guess.
It looked like it worked well.
It did, although Ouray's the only place that you can do that, so it's limited opportunity for that.
Absolutely.
For that strategy. Come on, Roz. Good clip there as she places a tool onto the plywood structure for the first time.
Yes, now Roz will get down to business. She's got less than 3 minutes left. I know that she knows that, and she is probably going to try to move as quickly as she can up as much of this as she can cover in this time.
Yeah, this is where we need to see that shifting gears and an acceleration from Roz if she wants to be up there and competing for that top spot. Current first place is held by Angela Limbach. Really amazing effort from her earlier on, cutting loose in the nick of time on the big hanging box, which you'll see shortly. Roz matches in with that left hand into the high grip on her tool.
Nice cross through.
Really interesting that she opted to cross through there. Everybody else has gone left hand up, but going across herself is going to give it a little bit more purchase, using a body weight to pull back rather than having to use a core strength to pull back on that hold. Makes the clip, matches in on the underside of the tool, that reverse grip.
Yeah, that was efficient.
Yeah, really interesting method. First time we've seen that in this women's final. Good core strength there to keep that left hand in play after she missed the first time. Matches in on the tool, takes a second to shake, just over 1 minute remaining. And Vince, this is the difference between competitors, you know? A seasoned competitor would have made the clip, then shaken. Roz,
yes.
First time competing, taking the shake before the clip. It's those kind of things that can really cost you. You know, if there's a little mistake and she pops off, their score is all the way back down to that last clip. Whereas if she'd made the clip and then popped, she keeps that position.
A lot of that is the difference between strategizing for a competition and perhaps strategizing for just a hard red point climb, even a rock climb, where you don't have to think about those sorts of things.
Indeed. And so the last two competitors have both been scuppered by this hold. Let's see if Roz Reynolds can fare better than Lauren Chartel and Beth Goralski. What we know is that the athletes really actually need to have this hold on the opposite side to where her tool's currently placed so that they can move up and right in an efficient and safe manner. Very difficult to keep that tool isolated for this next move. So let's see if she's figured that out. You can see a little bit of pig shift as she shakes. So maybe, oh, she's off. Look at that. Vince, 3 in a row.
That's clearly a crux of the route.
Indeed it is, but Roz does not look disappointed. Amazing effort from her, and of course, her first ever Ouray Ice Festival, first ever Ouray Ice Festival finals. And so a huge round of applause to her and a great effort indeed from Roz Reynolds.
No, it was fantastic. She looked really good up there, and I suspect we'll see her at some more of these competitions here in Ouray.
Let's take a quick look at her climb over again. So a little bit cautious through the ice section. She was quite slow, but then once she got onto the plywood tower, that's where we saw her maybe come into her own a little bit more. Sadly, not with quite enough time to really show us how fast and how far she could have gone. But you see there a little bit of inaccuracy in the first time, but kept the shoulder strong to move well. And then as that clock ticked down, there was that pop there, the third athlete to fall off at that hold. Boom, there she goes. Great effort from Roz Reynolds. Something that she can be proud of there, and I do, as you say, Vince, hope that she'll be back.
We're going to talk to Beth Goralski here. She made a great effort on the tower, but she fell off earlier than expected. So, Beth, you went faster than any of the other competitors so far on the ice section, partly because you brought some special ice tools. Can you tell me about that decision?
Well, I did not know until late last night that we were going to be climbing the ice and not Mighty Aphrodite. And I knew that my comp tools don't climb ice very well, so I knew that I could climb a lot faster if I brought my ice tools. And so I figured that would give me an advantage if I could be on the tower longer. Unfortunately, I kind of skated off a rock hold, and I didn't think I had it very good when I first went up on it, and I guess my intuition was correct.
Can you tell me a little bit, like, what's the difference between like an ice tool and a comp tool?
It's the angle of the pick, the thickness of the pick, the kind of teeth that are on it. It's all shaped very differently for ice climbing versus comp tools. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beth.
Yep.
There was Beth Goralski with our on-the-ground reporter, Brooke Warren. There is that fantastic, beautiful San Juan Mountain vista. Next athlete, another rookie, Keiko Tanaka. Look at that, Vince, a negative hip index, -2 inches.
That's right, but she obviously is doing well. She's made it to the finals, so with every different body type, you'll find some advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes folks with the shorter ape index also, they can be shorter and they have lower center of gravity, and they get on that steeper terrain, and it's easier for them to keep their hips in closer to the wall and get a little more leverage to accommodate that lack of reach.
One of the best climbers I ever climbed with used to say to me, use what you've got. I always thought that was...
That's right.
Stellar advice. Some more sponsors there, official sponsors of the Ouray Ice Fest: Scarpa, Loa, La Sportiva, Osprey and Arc'teryx. As I've said many times already today, the competition would not be possible without the support of these athletes. I mean, it wouldn't, but it's the sponsors that we're talking about here. The sponsors bring in essential funds, essential gear, and essential coverage to this competition. So a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Keiko Tanaka here, moving up that lower ice section.
The snow is lightening up outside now, and it doesn't seem to have affected too many of the climbers so far on this ice portion.
Yeah, the weather seems to have improved a little bit, and Keiko qualified in second place yesterday. She is our penultimate athlete in the women's final.
Only 2 more women left to climb, and it will be interesting to see if they actually do progress a bit further up onto the tower. We've seen a lot of people have difficulty in that one last section before you transition over to the right.
Indeed, it will be intriguing to see how Keiko does, and then, of course, our final athlete will be Corey Buhay, US team member, very, very strong athlete. She qualified first in both days of climbing, both Thursday and Friday, so definitely a favorite for the top spot today. You see there, Keiko just figuring out that route finding. Got to be careful with that red line, although I'm sure the camera angle makes it look closer than it is there. The red line, yeah, there you go. The red line, the boundary of the route. The athletes may not touch or cross that red line to her left. You have to climb up through that ice section, through this small ice cave, and then onto the vertical ice above before breaching the plywood tower. Of course, the tower was extended this year. The Ice Park Operations Manager Xander Bianchi built that extension. It was installed by the Ice Park farmers.
I think a lot of the competitors have nightmares about the red lines. Those that have been around the game long enough have inevitably ran into a situation where sometimes it's easy to just look beyond it and make one little miss swing, and next thing you know, you have to stop. The route setters try as much as they can to not have to put them in there, but occasionally they do in this case, just to keep people running either more directly for difficulty or to avoid them running laterally around a difficulty where they may actually have a more run out and dangerous situation that they get into.
There is that beautiful, beautiful canyon.
may hear some people encouraging the competitors, and there are, though there are no spectators. What you're hearing there are some of the people that have already climbed and some of the volunteers that are on site helping make the competition take place. So though you can't hear some voices here, there actually are no true spectators in the real sense that you would typically have.
Just under 5 minutes for Keiko Tanaka. Onto that vertical ice section just below the plywood. As I mentioned, Beth Goralski was already well into that plywood section, so we know that to kind of have the time and space to move through that plywood section without having to rush, she needs to accelerate now and get onto that wall as quick as possible. Up with the right hand, looking for that ice placement. There it is. Second place qualifier yesterday. 32 years old. Currently residing in Boulder, Colorado. Hometown at Redding, Connecticut. Okay, here we go. Vince makes that last clip in the ice, and now we're going to see a traverse rightwards onto that pillar. 3 minutes, 10 seconds. What do you reckon?
I get a sense we're going to see a completely different type of climber emerge. I think Keiko is more comfortable now that she has her right tool on one of the holds on the tower. I think we're more into her type of home turf now, if you will. She moved smoothly enough through the ice, but I don't get a sense that that's her passion.
Actually a very accomplished rock climber, an aid climber.
Absolutely.
She soloed Lurking Fear on El Cap.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, not shabby.
No.
Give her a pair of aiders, a couple of Jumars, and let's see her on this route then.
Now this next clip will be there. She did it well. -2 ape index did not hold her back from that high reach.
Yeah, really nice movement of the hips, good strong core, locked in. That right hand was able to make the clip. Now with just under 2 minutes remaining, definitely need to see that shift in pace. Need to see her moving through these moves very quickly, decisively, so that she can get up into that top section and be in with a chance of taking first place from Angela Limbach, who's currently sitting well ahead of second place.
She's got under 2 minutes, but Keiko's one of the climbers here that train regularly at the Ice Coop in Boulder, Colorado, where they have artificial structure climbing and plywood to kick into like this. So she's had experience in this type of this medium.
Reaches up off that right hand, straight into the Stein first time. Really nice movement there. Very calm and collected as she just popped that pick into the Stein. Cranks off it two-handed. Reaches across herself to take enough rope in to make that next clip. There it is.
Okay, less than a minute to go. Nice cross-body lock off, making that big reach.
And so now she's on that hold that has scuppered 3 athletes. Let's Let's see if Keiko Tanaka can figure out that she needs to have it as a side pull rather than a hook. The difference being that you can see the tool now is rested on the top of the hold. What she needs is for the tip of the pick to be in the left side of it so she can pull away. Actually becomes more of a layaway than a side pull. Hasn't changed it so far.
No, she looks like she's getting ready to go.
This is a nervous moment.
Yep, that's it. She pulled onto the... She timed out.
Indeed, timeout for Keiko Tanaka. Brilliant effort from her. Won't be enough to see her in the second place that she qualified in. We'll take a look at the standings shortly. But Vince, first time in a mixed elite final. Pretty good effort, don't you think?
Great effort, absolutely. Strong, capable, with her experience on the big walls and other rock climbing, truly a well-versed climber, and I think we saw her ability to adapt to the different types of climbing here quite well. She took a little bit of time on the bottom portion, but seemed to make up for it a bit on the upper portion with the time she had left.
Well, let's take a look at those replays, and you see her knocking her tools into the ice for a more secure placement. Really solid effort for the first timer here. Keiko Tanaka moving onto that plywood structure, and she was in such good control through the lower section. Almost too much control, where we needed to see that blistering pace to see her accelerate and be in contention for a top spot or even a podium spot. She was just a little bit slow and secure, and of course timed out in this spot that we see now. Brilliant effort, but not quite enough to see her in contention for the top spot here today in Ouray. Nevertheless, something that she can be proud of, and definitely hope to see her back at the Ouray Ice Fest next year.
Next up, we have Corey Buhay. She is the favorite for the top spot for the women. Let's get to know her a little more.
My name is Corey Buhay, and I'm a member of the U.S. World Cup team and the ice scoop team. I've been ice climbing competitively for about 3 years now, dry tooling outside rock climbing for more years beyond that. I got into competitive ice climbing as a journalist, actually. I was dispatched down to the World Cup in Durango, and seeing athletes climbing metal and plastic holds with ice tools was something that I'd never heard of before. Ended up making friends with a few competitors, and, a testament to how welcoming the sport is. It is an intimidating sport for a lot of people, and it's just historically been a little bit more male-dominated. I think women are starting to catch on that it's really fun. I think the ice scoop has been really awesome for that. We are getting close to 50-50 women and men. This is the only facility of its kind in the U.S. right now in terms of training. We can work hard moves, work endurance, work on the swinging obstacles, which have historically been a pretty big stopping point for Americans at World Cup. I've only competed in the 2019 Ouray Ice Fest, and I placed third for women. For me, getting onto the tower is the most challenging part of the Ouray competition. I've never made it to the tequila shot, but I hear that there's one on. This year, my strategy is to stay calm. I have a lot of problems with competition nerves, and that's something I've been actively working on. I train hard and I work hard to conquer my fears, but I don't know if I've quite fit in the badass category.
Really nice profile there of our first place qualifier, Corey Buhay. 27 years old, another -2 ape index. Hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. Resides in Boulder, Colorado. Vince, when you consider that she's only been in competitive ice climbing for a relatively short time, it's all the more impressive that she's managed to qualify in first place today.
Absolutely. She has definitely put a lot of effort into learning what she needs to learn in a short period of time. A lot of these people have a good mental game, and I think that plays into this quite a bit. Obviously, as evidenced here, you got to be quite strong. But we're seeing she's moving confidently right now. She's moving quickly, and that's all from between the ears. It's not any more or less difficult for her than the other competitors, but she has that confidence that comes from doing this a bit and even over a few years, but doing it enough to know that she has what she needs to get up this portion of the route with relative ease.
Vince, we heard her talking in that video profile about nerves and how she suffers with competition nerves. You know, as an athlete, oh look, there we go. Let's have a quick look at the results before we talk about that. Angela Limbach still sitting in first place with 11.18 as her score. Second place, Catalina Shirley. Kat Shirley with a 10.16 score. Ros Reynolds in third with 10.15, actually tied with Beth Goralski. So everything to play for here. All bunched up in the 2-3-4. Angela Limbach with a comfortable lead. Guaranteed podium position for her and a guaranteed podium position for Kat Shirley. Corey will decide where they stand on that podium. Will it be a bronze, a silver, or a gold? Vince, we were talking just then about nerves. Talk to me about that. How does an athlete, you know, get around the jitters? How does an athlete get over those things when they're in a competition setting?
I think they all have different coping strategies for that sort of thing. You're going to see the occasional person that really enjoys the crowd and the people getting behind you and cheering you on, which you're not going to have as much this year. And some others are going to go more inside. They're going to be more withdrawn and try to block out the outside noise. It's been occasion that we've had competitors wear headsets so they can just tune out to some sort of music or who knows what to block out the outside and not think about it. But those nerves you talk about, I can't tell you how many times I have heard over the years from competitors how they felt that they climbed worse on the competition day than they, you know, did on any other day of the climbing season, and it plays a big role how people deal with the fact that they're being watched. They've got a lot on the line. Traditionally, those that have done the best have been those that seem to be the most relaxed going into it and can just climb naturally.
Well, those nerves don't seem to be holding her back so far. Nice, confident performance so far. Moving up that vertical ice section now, and you can see the trimmed ice to her right marks the bottom of that ice, of the plywood pillar, rather. The plywood just ahead of her now, so she needs to keep moving and get up onto that slab so she can traverse rightwards and make some moves on that plywood. And we saw in the video, and as we mentioned already, Vince, she trains at the Ice Coop. She is a comfortable dry tooler, comfortable competition style climber, and really I want to see the minutes on the clock when she gets there, because I think that's going to determine how she does as she breaks up into that tower. There you go, as if by magic. 5 minutes 25 to go. She's really flying, Vince.
Yes, she's got plenty of time to do what she needs to do to get up, possibly even in first place here. Though she didn't get to watch the other competitors climb, she knows as going last, she's got to have a good sense what she has to do. She has no idea how far she has to climb, but typically the last people, you know that you're the last one to go, and it's all about you, and that sometimes can be calming in and of itself.
Little whoop there from Corey as she drops down onto that left hand. Look at that already. You just see that gear shift that I've been asking for all through this women's final immediately comes from Corey Buhay. Look at that as she takes that left hand. Vince, we're really starting to see her speed up now.
I think she's definitely in an environment that she's familiar with. She trains on this sort of structure, this sort of climbing quite frequently. She's reading the holds well.
She's reading it perfectly. Look at that, straight into that Stein, barely stopping to breathe, barely stopping to shake. Makes
very
that
deliberate
next clip
kicks.
Very deliberate, and that's what I was saying earlier, Vince. You know, the difference between someone that really knows how to kick and someone that's just getting used to it is that 1-2. You just hear this rhythm of move the pick, 1-2, move the pick, 1-2, and that's what really motors them up the wall at a pace that gives them the time they need to make these difficult moves. Look at that, straight into that side pull.
She
Brilliant
grabbed that
route
side
reading.
pull. Yes, and I think for a lot of the climbers that aren't used to climbing on plywood, one thing they don't realize is it's hard to kick too hard. You really can't kick it too hard. And I think there's often a little bit of a hesitance. And you notice with her, it's very solid, very deliberate kicks, stabilizes her, gets her foot in quite quickly.
Now, look at that. She's straight through that move that's seen the last 4 climbers falling. She's made that next clip. And so, really, it's with 3 minutes to go, she just has to stick with it and not fall off. Angela Limbach managed to take the hold on the bottom right corner. You can see on the hanging box. If Corey Bouhet can catch that, she will be tied. Angela took it dynamically because she was falling, but look at that. She's completely static and in control. This is really exceptional climbing. Into the figure 9 now. Commit to the box. Look at that. Really nice movement. Matches with the left hand. Just switching between 4s and 9 to get comfortable.
We are watching
the
winning climb.
Yeah, she's already in first place now, assuming that there's no judging changes or decisions. Haven't seen anything that would cause an appeal at this point. 2 minutes 20 on the clock. She's doing everything correctly. Just needs to stick with it and hang in there to make it to the top. It would be awesome to see a top from the winner.
Absolutely. She's won this. I don't know that she knows that, but now it's all for style points. Let's see how high she can get.
Really
she
nicely
wants that
between
shot
those
of tequila.
4s and 9s into the hanging box, and you can hear the crowd, just of fellow athletes and volunteers, really willing her on and giving her everything that she needs to make these next moves. Into that free hanging barrel with the right hand. Look at that, straddling the box, really smart climbing there, almost sitting down to take some extra weight off her hands.
She's got plenty of time.
So much time.
Barring some sort of mistake, I don't see her not finishing this.
The commentator's curse is real, Vince. So be careful what you say. Straight over into the figure 4 on that left hand. Matches in with the right to go to a figure 9. Oh, she can't quite make that clip, and now you're seeing the pump. She has a minute remaining. Come on, Corey.
She's going to shake out a little bit and get it back. She
takes the rope in her teeth. Come on, Corey. Reaches up. It's not quite there.
Oh.
No, she's off.
That was so close. So close.
Oh my gosh, everything she could have possibly done to get a top, and not quite rewarded. But I tell you what, you don't get much closer. Absolutely sensational climbing there from Corey Bouhet. First place qualifier, dominant throughout, takes the gold medal with a brilliant, brilliant climb here at the 2021 Ouray Ice Festival. Vince, that was incredible.
That was great. That was a real amazing display of grace and power, and all within a few seasons of climbing. It just shows with a determination and some, some potential what you can do.
The tool's still up there on the structure. She just peeled off those tools at the last second. Pump getting the better of her. I'm not surprised she's getting help on the knot there, barely untied with all that root in her forearms. So let's take a look at that replay. This was the point where a few athletes before her, 4 athletes in fact, had all fallen or timed out. Corey, with so much time in her pocket, was able to move calmly through these moves, up into the upper part of that volume and onto that swinging box. And this is where we really saw Corey excel. She looked like a consummate professional, moving confidently through figure 4s and figure 9s, up the free hanging box into the barrels, and just so strong. Unfazed by the moves, unfazed by the clock, and absolutely deserving of that top spot. Look at that, making tricky clips. The rope drag getting the better of her maybe. So good. This was a fun part, actually. She managed to get that right leg over the box and kind of straddled the box to get a little bit of a rest and some respite. And there was that last hold. The blue hole there is the final hold. She had both tools in. She'd matched but hadn't clipped. And look, This is how close she was to a successful top. It breaks my heart. Amazing effort from Ouray Ice, and a totally deserved first place. We will take a look at the provisional standings. I do say provisional because the results have to be certified by the judges to be finalised, but in 8th place was Lindsay Hastings, 7th place Lauren Chartel, 6th place Beth Goralski, 5th place Ros Reynolds, 4th place Keiko Tanaka, 3rd place was Kat Shirley, 2nd place, really early on in the competition, Angela Limbach set the standard, but 1st place was a very well-deserved top from Ouray Ice is what it says on the results. I'm not sure whether she'll get that top, given that she didn't clip it, but nevertheless, she was at the top of the wall and will be taking the gold medal today. Absolutely fantastic.
Hi, we're here with Ouray Ice, the top finisher for the women. So Ouray, tell me, how did it feel to get to the top with such calm composure? At least that's what it looked like from down here.
I'm glad it looked composed. I was pumped out of my gourd. Some of those steep moves are pretty challenging. I think Marcus did an awesome job of setting stuff that keeps you thinking and keeps you moving. Just because it's so steep, you don't really have the energy to stop and figure it out. So he did a good job of balancing it, and honestly, it was just a blast. Really thoughtful movement. The ice was a nice touch to throw us all out of our comfort zone a little bit to start off. So yeah, super fun route.
And you did those figure 4s and figure 9s and all those hanging elements. And what kind of technique does that take? Is it really strength?
Yeah, we've done a lot of practicing this year, just getting down the rhythm of those. And then it also takes, you've got to think a few moves ahead. Do I want my leg over this arm, or am I going to be trying to reaching this way? So you've kind of got to look at the next few moves and set yourself up. So it takes a little bit of pacing, a lot of grip strength because you're just hanging on your hands, and just experience getting into the rhythm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ouray.
Yeah,
Let's hear a little bit more about the man who set the route.
My name is Marcus Garcia, and I'm the head route setter for the Ouray Ice Fest this year. It's a virtual competition, and I was in charge of setting the routes for the male and females and putting this competition together. I've been ice climbing, or climbing in general, for 30 years. I started when I was 14, and I've been ice climbing for 25 of those years. And I've been a Ouray competitor for the last 15 years. In 2015, I started up the USA Youth Ice Climbing Program, and that was putting together a mentor program to start getting youth members involved in competitive ice climbing. And Liam and Kenan were some of the younger ones I started, and I've been their coach for almost 5 years now. So it's been pretty amazing to watch these guys blossom into amazing humans and amazing athletes.
Yep. That is Marcus up there. Oh, so Marcus is up there on the tower now, and he is working really hard to reset some holds for the men's route. It takes a lot of effort. I was watching him earlier this week setting up, and it is quite hard. He's using some aid climbing techniques to move around on the ropes and drill the new holds in. It's a lot of workout on the biceps, pulling yourself up and down like that. We're going to be talking to Peter O'Neill, the executive director of the Ouray Ice Park next. Watching out for ice coming down from Marcus. So, Peter, you are the executive director of the Ouray Ice Park. Tell me, how have you pulled this off? How have you made this whole thing happen?
Yeah, it's been an incredible team effort. I mean, the collaboration between so many people. I mean, the volunteers, the athletes, right, wanting to be here. So it's been a work of love from everyone you see here, wanting to be here in Ouray. So if it wasn't for the team, we couldn't have done it.
And there's a number of sponsors that have kind of made it happen. How much money has been given to make this all pull it all off?
You know, I always thought the internet was free, right? To stream on the internet and do it right, as I think we're doing it, cost over $100,000. So the state of Colorado stepped up. OEDIT, which is the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, 4 of their departments stepped up. The Colorado Lottery, the city of Ouray, and then sponsors like Petzl, like RAB, like Black Diamond, Scarpa, La Sportiva. I'm probably leaving people out. Lots of industry sponsors, and then frankly, our members, right? I mean, the ice park is free, and the only way we can make ice is with member support. You can come into the park, you can climb for free, and it's our members that support us too, and local business partners in Ouray. So it really is, it's a community effort.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have such an amazing resource that is free to the public, even if it does take a lot of work to make it happen. How does it feel to be out here in this scene, watching all these competitors?
Wow, it is beyond my wildest expectations. So I feel very grateful for being here in Colorado, doing it safely, because we committed to the Colorado Public Health Department and the city of Ouray's, or the county health department, we would do it safely, and I think we're doing that. So it feels really good to be here now with the women finished and teeing up the men.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter.
Sure.
We'll see some of the falls and fails that we had this week, these few days, and today. So we'll watch those exciting bits.
Some stunning falls and fails there, Vince. I think that was over a few years, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you can give us some insight there. You've been there plenty of times. Maybe you haven't. We're back now with the men's competition, and there, of course, is Andrew Lamb. We'll have a full start list and everything for you in a few moments' time, but let's stick with the action for now. Andrew Lamb climbing the lower part of the ice and really starting to accelerate. And now where we saw the women break left, you can see the route threads for the ladies there. The men are going to be climbing right. They're going to be taking that mixed route of Mighty Aphrodite, first climbed by British female Lucy Creamer, was climbed on traditional protection way back in the day. And yeah, we're going to be seeing the guys climbing that. I just heard in my ear Kitty Calhoun. Kitty, welcome to the broadcast. How are you doing?
How are you? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I just got in here, and boy, isn't this exciting.
Isn't it exciting indeed? Kitty, make sure you're nice and close to the microphone so we can hear you. Kitty, you know, you started ice climbing in 1979, not wishing to age you, but I'm sure in those years you've seen climbing change. What can you tell us? How's it changed since when you started to now?
It was like 0.1
Well, it's just mind-blowing, the changes, and it's so exciting to be able to just see the trajectory where it's all gone, and then to just think of where it's going to go. I mean, we can't even imagine, and it's just all really exciting.
The women's competition was, of course, an absolute thrill to watch, and of course culminated in Ouray Buhay's brilliant finishing effort. What did you make of that?
I thought that was just wonderful. You know, I had Corey in an ice climbing clinic once, and she's a wonderful rider as well, and just great to see her climbing so well.
Yeah, from clinic to podium top, not a bad little progression curve there.
Yeah, it's just the way that the athleticism, the gear, of course, and the vision. I mean, just to go from when I first started climbing, I mean, there was no way we'd be on rock, much less anything overhanging, and so this is just the mindset to go from where we were back in 1979 to where we are today is just really fun to be a part of.
Well, Andrew Lamb making really solid progress here. Moving up through Mighty Aphrodite, making that clip with his left hand there and looking off to that left side. Just to let you know at home, the men have climbed Mighty Aphrodite this weekend, or rather this week already. It was part of the qualifying route on day one. So they have had a little bit of practice, they have had a refresher, they've had chance to kind of figure out the beta and the moves and the way that this route climbs. So what we would hope is that they'll be able to move through this lower section of the route in relative ease as they break into what will be undoubtedly a very challenging upper section. Above Andrew, you'll see that red line on the ice where the ice has been chopped off. That is a boundary line. The athletes may not climb over that line there. They may not use their tools above that line. They have to go around. You see Andrew being forced onto that hanging ice curtain there. He's going to make that clip and then go up and around that out of bounds zone. If he does use anything within that out of bounds zone or touches the red line, his time will stop, his attempt will stop, and that'll be the end of his climb. So he'll be paying close attention to the tool placement and to his crampon placement once he moves up there. And so you see him tentatively moving those crampons up the ice, but that right hand is already on the plywood tower now. We saw the ladies climbing on the left-hand side of the tower. The men are climbing on the right and then look through the center, the steepest part of the tower. Andrew Lamb's 23 years old, based out of Bozeman, Montana. Of course, Bozeman itself has a strong pedigree of ice climbers and rock climbers alike. Highlight Canyon on the doorstep there. Plenty of stunning climbing to be had. Andrew places that left tool into that undercut. The difference between an undercut and a stein is the head of the tool. Oh, he's off! Oh, right into the ice. Seems to be okay. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why we wear safety equipment. Kitty, what did you make of that?
That was just a great effort, and you know, you never know when you're going to pop off of those holds, and so I'm sure that was a surprise and a disappointment for him. But yeah, thank you, Liam, for having me, and we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Kitty. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Sorry we didn't get to chat more. Andrew was full of the action there. Yeah, do stay in touch, and we're so grateful for you being on the broadcast today.
You bet. Thank you.
And so that was Andrew Lamb climbing there. We're going to see his replay in just a second, and it was Kitty Calhoun, legendary ice climber, joining us for the commentary. So this was Andrew Lamb, 23-year-old out of Bozeman on Mighty Aphrodite, the lower section of the men's final route. Moved through it really nicely, M7 grade roughly, so not too hard for these guys who are often operating in double digits when climbing on pure mixed routes. And it was that undercut that saw him fall, just didn't quite have enough tension to catch that right hand and hold it, and then when he missed it, he popped off and took the spill, and here, let's see it again. Watch that right hand, just missed, and that pop of the left hand was what saw him reeling backwards. And
next we'll hear, nice job from Andrew, the man with the tri-cams. Next we'll hear about one of the Ice Park's biggest sponsors, as well as a sponsor for this event, the Colorado Lottery.
I like to refer to the Ouray Ice Park as the epicenter of ice climbing in North America. I think we were probably the first ice park. There are others now around the world. I think we're probably the largest man-made one. The Ouray Ice Park is a nonprofit organization. It's free to come in and climb. We want to keep it free. About 70% of our budget comes from the Ice Festival, and we get funding from our sponsors. We have local business partners, but we really depend on donations. Every year, the Colorado Lottery donates millions of dollars towards parks and pools and trails and open space. And back in 2012, we were the recipients of a grant from the Colorado Lottery. The Colorado Lottery provided a grant of $193,000 that helped us purchase more land and expand the park and help create what it is today. There are 150 routes. There are man-made routes that are very easy to access. And then there's lots of natural ice for people to climb in the backcountry. We offer clinics, so if you're a novice, you can rent some gear, work with a guide service, and then there are world-class elite athletes that come here to climb, to train, and everything in between. We're so grateful that the Colorado Lottery stepped in again this year to say, we helped you build the park, and now we'd like to help you make the Ice Festival happen this year. Because of COVID, we had to do it virtually. It's a unique opportunity to showcase the Ouray Ice Park, the state of Colorado, the city of Ouray, to the rest of the world through the festival.
So that was Peter O'Neill, Executive Director of the Ouray Ice Park. Next up, Jerzy Jablonski, known as JJ amongst the climb community, is our second male athlete. Moving up into the lower part of Mighty Aphrodite. You did hear Peter talking about how the Ouray Ice Park is a non-profit. If you'd like to support the Ouray Ice Park, it couldn't be easier. All you have to do is take out your phone, type in the number 56651 into a message, and then text the letters OIP to that number. You can make a donation. It's as easy as that. Or you can donate on the Ouray Ice Park website. Either way, donations are, of course, gratefully received. I believe I'm rejoined now by Vince. Vince Anderson, yes. Where are you?
I'm back, Liam.
Awesome. That was great to have you back.
It's great to be back, and it was great to watch the first male, Andrew, on the route. You noticed he had those tri-cams, and I noticed a few people sending me messages asking what that was all about. And he was just having some fun. And I think when you mentioned earlier about how do people handle their nerves, sometimes they'll do these irreverent things, take something like that, or even dress a little differently just to kind of make them a little more grounded in that this is just a fun thing. And that sometimes helps people not take it too seriously and then just relax and climb a little more smoothly. JJ here obviously has his own methods of staying smooth and calm on the mixed section here.
Yeah, looking nice and strong so far. I must say, great color coordination. It's a well-known fact that a color-coordinated climber can do moves doubly as hard as an uncoordinated climber. Scientifically proven.
He's moving up this fairly quickly. route that they've climbed several times now in the qualifying rounds. Generally good holds, but somewhat long distances between them. So you'll see these folks making fairly big moves down on the low portion on the rock.
Yeah, absolutely flying up the rock section of this route. Moving up into the ice before he then takes on that plywood.
And for the men, there's just a small portion of ice that they actually climb in the entirety of the route.
Nice low clip there, very efficient.
Nice low clip, absolutely.
And you see the tower just above him there. That iconic tower, constructed by Jessica Loader of Skull Studio and Design in Ouray. Designed by the Ice Park Operations Manager, Xander. He designed the upper part. And of course installed by the Ouray Ice Park Ice Farmers. JJ just being careful as he moves up to that red line, ensuring he doesn't step or place his tools out of bounds.
JJ's already where Andrew had a little slip there. And I think taking that undercut in just the right way is going to be the key to controlling this hold. So JJ's stabilizing well.
He's kind of laying away off that. Andrew Lamb seemed to be much more kind of square onto it. Oh, he's off as well. Clatters into the ice. Whoa. Seems to be okay.
He's all right.
Vince, what did you make of that? I did think he looked more solid, but apparently not.
No, and I think because of reading the next hold for him up and right, there is that tendency to lose your balance from that undercut. And I think it's going to depend upon some of the climbers getting their other foot, probably their right foot, up also to help stabilize the body while they make that next move.
So let's take a look at the replay. As we said already, JJ motored through Mighty Aphrodite. Very calm and collected on this pure rock route. And then has to trend off rightwards, and you see that's where he was onto that ice curtain. His pace slowed down a little bit there. And this was the point that I thought he was in. That left tool just popped. Watch that tool closely. Whereas with Andrew, we saw the right tool miss and then the kind of recoil of that movement pop him off. With JJ, I'm not sure that the right tool ever really got close. I think he just kind of pushed himself off there. That left tool burst out. We'll have to wait and see what the next athlete does. Next climber will be Thomas Gerlein. There he is. Another US team member. 32 years old, hometown of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Competed all over the world for Team USA. Currently resides in Boulder, Colorado. fun fact about Tomas, as he climbs this lower ice section, he used to be an accountant, but he gave it up to become a cobbler and repairer of climbing shoes and mountaineering boots. He's made his own climbing shoes. I wonder if he's climbing in his own custom-made boots today. I'll have to get a close look at those once he gets up on that rock.
The boots and crampons all the competitors use now are specialized. They're boots that you wouldn't be able to wear without the crampons that are bolted onto the bottom. So they're slick otherwise. And they're relatively new. They've only been around in the last 20 years. And when they first came around was around the time I competed on the World Cup in the early 2000s. And we really did have to go find cobblers to modify the existing boots, cut the lugged sole off the bottom, which was extra weight, and then drill some holes in there that you could get some sort of crampon parts bolted onto there.
So, Tomas Gerlein moving into the rock section now. Mighty Aphrodite using his hands there on the rock, which is completely and totally fine, well within the rules. Not uncommon to do that.
Not at all, particularly on this climb. This climb, interestingly enough, Mighty Aphrodite was established by a British woman, Lucy Creamer, in, I believe, 1995 or 96. And she actually led it with traditionally placed protection, not with the bolts that are now there. But it is on a rock type that favors both hand grip or dry tooling, either one. So you'll see some of the competitors use their hands in a place or two, perhaps.
Indeed. And there we move up that steep face. Tomas moving at a comfortable pace. Doesn't seem to be racing. Just staying within his limits. Keeping consistent and flowing movement.
He has a very good pacing and rhythm right now. Making the move, biting the axe, making the clip, looking around a little bit. Not hurried, but he's certainly not moving slow.
No, not at all. And Tomas has, as I said, competed for the USA all over the world. His best result in the 2019 season was in China, where he placed 15th. He placed 3rd at the Great Lakes Mixed Comp in November of that year. He also placed in the top 10 at the Krokonogi competition in St. Petersburg. And you might think, okay, top 10, no big deal. But when you're competing in Russia against the Russians, any result above last is impressive. Let me tell you, those Russians go hard. So yeah, real competition experience under his belt, and hopefully that will put him in good stead for this upper part. I definitely want to see some athletes climbing through the plywood section and up that plywood tower. Our first two athletes falling off in the same spot.
We'll see how Tomas does. Just 3.5 minutes. That's enough time for him if he moves efficiently on this tower.
Swings those feet to the right on that ice section. And here we go. Just trying to figure out what to do with this hold. You can see he has the low grip with his right hand, and I think he's trying to figure out how to get that. There it is, the high grip with the right hand. Get himself a little bit higher. Oh, look at that. He's looking for that really high clip, and that's a smart competitor. Bit too much of a reach, perhaps. No, he's going to go have another go. Whoa. Now, this is wasting valuable time and energy. Bluminek, he's got it. That is a very smart move.
A little bit of extra time doing so, but it may pay off for him.
Yeah, I mean, if he pops off at this same spot now, he's ahead in the rankings.
He's ahead. Let's see,
Places
there he
those
goes.
2
He's
feet
got both
nice and
feet.
strong. Oh, and look at that. Tomas Gerlein gets that right tool into position immediately. Reaches up into the backhand with the left hand on that volume. Just under 2 minutes remaining, and he's starting to find his pace now. Makes the next clip. Big crossover himself there. You see him tucking that left hand in as he reaches over with the right. Onto one of those famous Krukanogi golf balls. Just a polished circle, or a polished spear, I should say, mounted onto a metal plate. Zero friction on those things.
It's like trying to get your axe onto a ball bearing.
No, thank you. And here he goes up onto that intellect hold. The metal plate on that, another very precise hold. Matches in with the right hand, has a quick look to check it's seated well. Another good clip there, and Tomas Gerlein's really flying now. Matches in with that right hand, he's just taking a second to shake. That's the top, you can see it's not as far away as you might think. But there's a lot of effort required, and he's got the next hold.
For 30 seconds, he's got a chance.
I think maybe if he had rocket fuel for breakfast, he has a chance, but nevertheless, he's putting a really solid effort in. Reaches up for that next hole with the left hand. Very composed climbing here with the time ticking down. Makes the next clip. Really solid climbing for Tomas Gerlein. Up onto the top left corner of that box. Into that figure 9 over the left hand. And that, I believe I heard the count there. That was time. Vince, that was an absolutely brilliant effort there.
White good. Excellent. Yes, incredibly strong climber.
Really, really nice. And you can just see how happy he is with that. No mistakes. Very consistent. And indeed, he should be happy with that. That puts him into first place. We still have 5 more athletes to climb. Let's take a quick look at the replays. There he was low down on Mighty Aphrodite, utilizing his hands. Moved really consistently on that lower section. Did slow down a little bit on the ice. You could see a sense of insecurity, but once he hit the plywood, once he made that high clip, that's when he really came into his own. Little sense of confidence from him, perhaps just feeling, okay, I've got a good clip, let's go now. And this is where he accelerated and moved really decisively up that plywood structure. And of course made it all the way to the intellect holds and eventually to the hanging plywood box. This was that moment that he hit it. We'll have to wait to see what his final score was, but an absolutely incredible effort from Tomas Gerlein, where he timed out just at that point there. Brilliant work from the young athlete. You see that, very proud of his efforts, and so he should be.
What an exciting run by Thomas Gerlein. Next up, let's hear about our next competitor, the compact powerhouse, Liam Foster.
My name's Liam Foster, and I'm a member of the U.S. ice climbing team. I've been climbing for like 5 or 6 years. The first year that I did the Ouray Ice Fest, I think I was the youngest ever to compete, and I just applied on a whim and I got in. I was just so psyched, because growing up in Durango, the Ouray Ice Fest, it's like a big thing. This year I'm competing in the mixed comp and also the speed comp. Last year I got 4th in the mixed comp and 2nd in speed, I believe. In the mixed comp, when I fell, I swung and hit my leg on a piece of ice a little bit, so had to kind of get my leg working again for the speed comp. This year, because there's no World Cup, I've actually been training mostly by rock climbing, because if you can grab small holds, then you can grab the handle from the sides. We're at the Ice Coop right now, which is the dry tooling gym in Boulder. It's just so nice here because, you can traverse from one end all the way to the other end and get a lot of movement in on the tools. So one of my idols is Marcus Garcia because he just has a lot of tenacity. I've seen him get knocked down so many times and he just gets right back up. One of my favorite things about competition climbing is that you have no idea what it's going to look like before you get there. So I have no idea where I'm going to fall, what's going to happen. You can get yourself into dangerous situations for sure. You just have to be very aware of your surroundings. The strategy for this comp is just to go have fun. In the end, that's why we climb, right? I climb because I want to go have fun. I think Cody, Wes, and Keenan probably have the best chance this year. I always want to beat Tyler, but he always wants to beat me, and that's why it's so much fun.
Great little profile there of Liam Foster. Brooke called him the compact powerhouse. I like to call him the pocket rocket. 20 years of age with a +4 ape index. Hometown of Durango, Colorado.
Yes, Liam grew up just about an hour and a half south of here, so he's somewhat of a local hero in these parts.
Moving really nicely through this rock section.
Yeah, there you go.
You can tell Liam's no stranger to the weight room. He's got very strong arms, and that's one of his biggest assets is his raw strength that he has.
Currently studying particle physics at Colorado. Sounds like he trains that brain as well too.
You got this, Liam. Come on.
He's moving strong and powerfully.
He really is. And, Liam describes Ouray as a second home for him, so that's definitely going to be playing in his favor as he climbs up this lower section of the route, feeling like you're at home.
I think you're going to find some of our competitors that do quite well today are probably going to dispense with the mighty Aphrodite in 5 minutes. That's historically been around the time frame we see the top competitors get to the tower.
See!
He's essentially on the last rock hold he needs to use.
And there he goes, bridging out into the ice curtain. Liam Foster, our 4th athlete in this men's elite mixed final. Mixed, of course, referring to the climbing. A mix of rock, ice, and dry tooling in the comp style holds. If you're just joining us, my name's Liam Lonsdale. I'm joined today by Vince Anderson. We're coming to you live from the Ouray Ice Park in Colorado. Liam moving really, really nicely up to that first clip on the plywood tower.
It'll be interesting to see how much time he has left. Seems like he got up there relatively quickly, and he has a good chance of making it quite high.
And look there, another competitor who's got plenty of experience under his belt, even for his young age. He's competed for Team USA around the world and has competed in various competitions at the Ice Coop. He was looking for that high clip. Now Liam is quite a bit shorter than Tomas Gerlein, so I think it might be just too much of a stretch for him to make that clip from the low position. And the question is, oh, look at that.
That's grip strength. That's great to be able to grab that with the gloved hand.
Takes that hold with his right hand.
It gets him that little bit higher of a reach.
I just wonder if it's all in vain. Is he wasting time and energy? Yeah, see, now he's pumped in that right hand. He's got to switch back to the tool. What started off as a smart move is possibly a mistake now.
Most of these competitors will not get excessively pumped from just grabbing the ice axe. They start grabbing the rock, though, they're going to get pumped just like any rock climber will. Perhaps a little bit of a tactical mistake trying to make this clip right now at the expense of climbing a bit more.
Yeah, he's been there for well over a minute and a half, and you see, you know, with less than 2 minutes remaining, he's kind of had a tunnel vision and thought to himself, hey, I need to make that clip, and now he's got stuck in that position. He's still trying. Honestly, I think he needs to just push on because he's actually losing points for actually making the moves. Here we go. Oh, and he's off. And Vince, I can't help but think that fall comes from just him hanging around in that position for a little bit too long. He looked disappointed, and I can understand why.
Yes, he was climbing so efficiently before that, and I think you can see it in his face right now. He knows he made a tactical mistake trying to make that high clip, wasting energy and wasting time. In the end, he tried to go around and climb a little higher, but it was a little bit too late, I'm afraid.
Chats to the belayers and ground team. See it in Liam's face that he's disappointed. Fist bumps from JJ. And we'll take a look at a replay of the action. So, as Vince just said, Liam was so strong in that lower section. He, as I said, moves like it's his home from home. Very comfortable on this route. Very efficient. And got up to that ice section where we see him now. With so much time in hand, and then slight tactical error. He saw the clip above, thought that he could make it from the low position, tried to make it from the low position, but then after failing a couple of times, got sucked in, had tunnel vision, and lost a lot of time and a lot of strength trying to make that clip. And then when it came to it, boom, he was out of there. Couldn't quite get his body into the position it needed to be to take that backhand hold. And yeah, it just wasn't Liam Foster's day. There we see the moment that he decided that he just had to go for it with less than 2 minutes of his time remaining. And you saw the right foot pop out, his core had got a little tired, caused a barn door, and that was him out of there.
You know, we've seen a few of the climbers have difficulty at that same spot. One of the challenges that Marcus has had setting the route here is that tower really just presents about 30 feet of climbing. So he has to condense all of what you might find on a normal World Cup style route into just 30 feet. And so likely there is this hard bit down there at the bottom to get people a little more fatigued as they move up into the upper portion of the wall. Unfortunately, sometimes when you do that, you're going to also encounter a bit of a bottleneck like we're seeing there.
So 4 athletes down, 4 more to go. The standings after 4. 4th place, we just saw him climb Liam Foster, followed by JJ there in 3rd. 2nd place was Andrew Lamb. All tied there, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and it was 1st place right now is Tomas Gerlein. He got a score of 16.211. Really, really solid bar set by him. 4 more athletes to climb. We still have Cody Stevenson, who's on your screen right now, Kevin Lindlaw, Tyler Kempney, and Keenan Griscom. Everything to play for these 4 athletes. Let's see how Cody fares. Cody's 17 years old, based out of Boulder, Colorado. Also studying particle physics.
Notice Cody almost going speed climber style, grabbing the tools high. Just
really
hooking.
Smart. Yeah, and
yes.
I mean, honestly, Vince, I don't see a reason not to. This is an icy slab. Those tools aren't made for swinging. The hooks are already there. You know, the placements are already there. If you can spot your placements and move and react quick enough, then it's a really smart way to do that bottom section.
Absolutely. You move fast when you can and move slow when you have to. Right now he's on a little bit more of a tenuous slab. He'll take his time, but he wisely accelerated at the bottom where he knew he could.
And it's no surprise, actually. Cody Stevenson represented Team USA at the 2020 UIAA World Cup in Saas-Fee and actually made it to the speed finals, the Saas-Fee speed event, a particularly iconic one. So speed is definitely one of his strengths. It
yeah, we
showed
could
in
see that at the bottom.
Yeah. Another fun fact about Cody, this route, Mighty Aphrodite, was actually the first, or rather, it was actually his hardest on-site climb. So Cody's been able to climb this route on-site and now has had a few different chances to climb it and repeat it and refine the beater. Let's see how he does on it now, ahead of the plywood tower that awaits.
Well, I suspect if he completes the route today, that will be his new hardest on-site. That would be a significant step up from Mighty Aphrodite.
Indeed it would. So matches in with the right hand. The men, of course, 8 minutes on the clock from the start. 8 minutes to climb from the bottom to the top. Just over half, or rather just under half of that has elapsed.
And it looks like he'll be off the rock in just after 4 minutes on the route, which is good. He's making good time.
Qualified in 4th place. 2 routes from Thursday and Friday. Actually qualified in joint first in his first route, placed 5th in his second.
To give you some historical context, the route he just climbed in a little over in 4.5 minutes, it's right next to another route of similar difficulty called Dizzy with the Vision, that in 1997 was the entire competition. So at this point, Cody would have completed the competition in 1997. At that time, it took people well over 15 minutes, and some didn't even make it, just to get to where he is now.
So let me ask you this, Vince. What's changed?
A lot of it is just the belief, seeing other people do it, and a lot of this stuff, people didn't know that you could grab an ice axe the way he is right now in 1997.
Right.
Like, it just, you started to realize that the axe was a portable hold. And again, the equipment has changed dramatically.
Well, that improvement in equipment and improvement in technique has definitely seen us come on leaps and bounds over the past couple of decades. Past 3 decades, in fact. Wow.
Great
Cody
move.
Stevenson moving so well.
Great move.
Now, and he's straight up to that Krokonogi golf ball. You see there that polished steel ball. The tool
And it
just
has a
resting
bit of
on
a
top
sweet
it.
spot. Those balls, he grabbed it with that portion of the pick just a little behind the tip, and that's where they want to be held. Some competitors have the tendency to try to grab it a little too high.
And you see there, as he moved up onto that red intellect hold, his pick naturally went to the back of the red hold. Now you're not allowed to use that part, and you saw him readjust down to the lip, which is where the steel plate is. That's where you're allowed to make that move and continue climbing, and there he is again on the next intellect hold, using his right hand on that volume, smart climbing again.
Yeah, he's smart. He's climbing really smart.
On the clock, he's in a really good position here to move ahead of Tomas Gerlein's high point.
He certainly has the strength, and it looks like he has the time.
Slicing through butter there, swinging that leg over the arm into the figure 4 position. Reaches up with the right hand into that backhand at the top of the box.
Smart use of the crampons in the box.
He's just trying to find the best position on that next hold and hasn't quite got it. Tentatively throws that right leg over his left hand. Oh, and he's off! It was tentative, and there it was. It popped him off in the end. He probably did have time to make a few more moves, but nevertheless, he's secured provisional first place and a really solid effort from the 17-year-old.
What happened?
That's the best we've seen thus far. That was great.
Really
that swinging
climbing.
box, the swinging element does make it harder. Those are things that we don't encounter much, if at all, in the natural climbing environment. But nonetheless, it adds an element of difficulty stabilizing your body on a swinging element up there.
Yeah, it's definitely a new challenge. Very on vogue to have free hanging structures and boxes for these athletes to compete on, where momentum and position of body weight is as important as just being able to see where the holds are. This was the replay. This was Cody Stevenson's attempt in this men's final route. Another athlete that opted for that high clip, and the little bit of extra height meant he made it first time. Cruised through that move that we saw as a low crux for some of our earlier competitors, and just powered through this steep section on these Crocanogian intellect holds. Very composed, very promising. 17 years old, it'll be fascinating to see what the future holds for this young climber. This was the point that he committed to that free hanging box. You see now the top of the box marked in red. Oh, there he goes, and that was the fall. That's the out of bounds zone on top of the box now. Amazing effort from 17-year-old Cody Stevenson. There he is, getting himself reset. And we'll wait for our next competitor, which will be Kevin Lindlaw. Vince, we are officially over halfway in the men's final. We just saw 4th place qualifier Cody Stevenson get very close to the top. I'm going to ask you to make a quick call. What do you think? Are we going to see a top in the men's competition?
I think we will. I think part of the thing is people that go later in the day, there's some sort of intangible confidence you gain later on, and it's all too often that we do see somebody rise up and make it up to the top of these routes, even though they're not necessarily a better climber than those before them. I think that you do get an advantage by having that higher seeding due to your pre-qualifying routes, and I think we're going to see somebody make it up there.
Well, Kevin Lindlaw has the chance to be that somebody.
As we just saw with Cody, he put that extra length of his to good use, making that difficult second clip on the tower. And we'll see how that plays out for the next few competitors as well. That seemed to give him quite an advantage to getting onto the tower, having a lot of time and energy to put forth towards the rest of the route.
Kevin is another Bozeman local, based out of Bozeman, Montana. Fun fact that he loves to juggle. I wonder if he's juggling with his ice tools. Another fun fact is that Kevin used to race bicycles, and was very talented, in fact. Decided to leave the road cycling life behind and became an ice climber.
Nice, that's smooth, like it.
Has been very, very prominent in the US team, representing Team USA around the world. His best result in the World Cup was the finals in Cheongsong, South Korea, where he placed 7th. Which is no mean feat, let me tell you. That competition is hotly contested and the structure is absolutely massive. He's won several North American League Championships and North American Speed Championships. Has yet to win the Ouray Ice Fest Elite competition. Perhaps 2021 is his year.
Well, he's moving efficiently now, so he certainly looks good going on the mighty Aphrodite.
Totally agree, Vince. He looks completely in control right now. Looks like a routine set of moves for him at this point. He's not just a competition climber, he is also very talented outdoor climber as well. Hardest send is Jedi Mind Tricks D13 Plus. Significantly harder than Mighty Aphrodite.
Yes, that's a well-known route just over the hill from Ouray here, over in Lake City nearby in the same mountain range. Very hard.
Very composed clip from Kevin Lindlaw as he commits to the ice 100% and moves up into that tower.
Nice, Kevin.
Just to remind you all at home, Ouray Ice Park is a non-profit organization. It is pretty much entirely funded by donations from charities, from organizations and from members. If you liked what you see here today and would like to donate a few dollars, pounds, euros, they'll take all of your money. All you have to do is text OIP to the number 56651. You can also donate online at the Ouray Ice Park website. Kevin now.
Let's see how he manages the high clip.
Yeah.
You can tell he's thinking about it. Deciding whether he wants to make the move or make the clip. Looks like it's going to be the clip.
Hopefully Kevin doesn't get sucked in like we saw Liam Foster do.
No.
I've seen Kevin climb in high-pressure situations in competitions, and he can be really aggressive when he needs to be. This is what we need to see from him right now.
He decided to rethink it.
Smart move.
I think
Let's
that
see
was
him
a
turn
wise
it on now.
decision. Now it's easy. That was good to see him regain his composure. He still has time to make it a long ways up this route.
Lots of support from the crowd of fellow athletes and volunteers here at the Ouray Ice Park. Kevin Lindlaw, really strong up onto that crooked oogie ball, and he's only just got the tip of his tool behind that. That is a very, very precariously placed pick.
Very good deliberate kicks. Keeps him nice and steady.
Kevin seemingly unfazed by that and moves on so strong up onto these intellect holds now. So time-wise, he's a little bit behind where Cody Stevenson was. Not impossible for him to pass that existing high point, but he's got to find something special.
We're seeing some fatigue set in.
Yeah, a little hesitation there as his right arm didn't quite connect, and there it is. The pick makes contact.
He got it back. You can tell his arms are starting to talk to him, but he's able to keep it going.
Here, little grunts as he makes each move now and matches in on that next hole with the right hand in the high grip so that he can make the next clip. 45 seconds-ish on the clock as he reaches out to commit to that box 100%. Into that figure 9. Fully committed on that left hand now.
"30 seconds. See what he can do with that." Yes, he's going to make that additional move down.
He's got to make that clip though right now. He sits pretty much tied with Tomas Gerlein. It's not quite enough to get first place. There's the clip. And he hits that next hold. And that, you heard in the background, the judges calling time. Not a bad effort.
That was a good climb.
We'll have to wait and see if that last hold was within the allotted time or not. That will determine whether or not he places in second or third.
He did a good job regaining some composure and climbing efficiently after that initial difficulty at the second clip on the tower.
Yeah, absolutely. He really shifted it up a gear, climbed so well in the lower section, stuttered a little bit at the start of that plywood tower, and then, yeah, as you say, managed to find some pace. Let's check out those highlights again. Kevin Lindlaw cruising through the mighty Aphrodite. 26-year-old athlete. And this was, of course, the point where Kevin decided to rethink that clip it from the hip. And then he knew he'd wasted precious time, so had to accelerate somewhat. And accelerate he did. Moved up this next section so well. Finished on the box. And we'll still wait for the official adjudication. was Kevin Lindlaw. Next up is Tyler Kempney. Tyler, very strong athlete, placed third at this competition last year and was actually the highest ranked American. There are the standings so far. Kevin Lindlaw goes into first place ahead of Cody Stevenson. Interesting, they didn't give him the clip. Maybe he didn't get the clip. Vince, did he get the clip?
Yeah,
do you remember?
I'm not sure. It was hard for me to tell, but from my perspective, I had thought, but I will trust the judges.
We will indeed. I will check with the judges, but there it was. The standings were Kevin Lindlaw, Cody Stevenson, and Tomas Gerlein as your current 1, 2, and 3. Here is Tyler Kempney, 29 years old.
Tyler's cruising. He's moving
really
fast.
Is cruising. He's a very strong athlete.
He knows what he has to do.
Hometown, of course, Carthage, New York, but he lives now in Boulder, Colorado, and is a frequent attendee at the Ice Coop, and in fact was responsible for organising the big competition at the Ice Coop earlier this season.
Speaking of cobblers, Tyler also does a lot of resoling. If any of you send your rock climbing shoes to get resoled to Rock and Resole, it's often Tyler doing the excellent job on that.
There you go. So Tyler making that penultimate clip in the rock section. His next clip you can see just drooping down over the lip of the ice above as he commits to the ice curtain on his right-hand side. Oh,
watch out, watch out.
No, Tyler.
Not sure
Tyler's
if
attempt
that's...
out. That's it. He's done.
He's out.
Oh, maybe he's been given the benefit of the doubt because he didn't make progression off the move. That's up to the judges to interpret. Sometimes it can be deemed that they didn't actually progress off the hold, therefore it just touched it. That'll be up to head judge Ken Destrich to call. He is being allowed to climb on. We'll see.
Probably best they allow that to happen, and then we can review it and they can make that decision later rather than tell him to come down prematurely and then decide that they should have let him.
Now it'll be interesting to see how that affects Tyler's psyche. If that'll get in his head or if he can shake that off and keep moving confidently with the same confidence that we saw him climbing in the lower section.
Climbing very smooth here.
Easily made that move off the hold that was been something of a crux.
And Tyler has plenty of time left.
So much time. Look at that. 4 minutes and 5 seconds.
Some of the climbers were still just getting onto the ice at this point earlier.
Okay, so this is the spot where it starts to get more interesting. 3 minutes 20 on the clock. It's going to be a case of how long can he hold on? Because 3 minutes and 15 seconds now is definitely enough for him to make it all the way up to those top holds. You can see that snow starting to pick up, the wind starting to blow. Tyler moving into that figure 9 position. If he can make that clip. Nice kicking in there with that left foot. Places the right foot into the figure 4. Makes the clip. He now needs to take the next hold and move off it. If he can move off this next hold, that puts him into provisional first place. Right now he's tied with Kevin Lindlaw. Oh, cuts loose onto that right hand, matches him with the left. Recommits, smart move there. Sometimes it is more efficient to just cut loose and start again.
That was the move we needed to see right there. The figure 4 gets him to the log.
And that puts him in first place.
He's on the log.
Still with 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining. Oh, a little slip there at the foot as he starts to fatigue, but still has plenty of time.
Absolutely. One figure 4.
So now he makes that clip. The clip is crucial. Watch the clock. Once the clip is made, he then has to match that finishing hold. And it's the moment that he matches that the clock will stop. So there's the clip.
Very smart of him.
There's the match. 1 minute and 7 seconds on the clock. Very happy Tyler Kempney there.
Absolutely.
Incredible effort. And leaves a very, very high bar for Keenan Griscom to come back and see if he can take the first place. Tyler Kempney, brilliant there. Awesome climbing from start to finish. Composed. Absolutely sensational. 29 years old and currently sitting in first place. Vince, how would you summarize that one?
I think he did fantastic as long as he doesn't get penalized for that errant axe placement in the red boundary, which I'm not sure of yet. Hopefully that didn't work against him, but otherwise he did a great job not letting that get to him and just moving smoothly on up the tower. Never really seemed to have any particular spot that if it was hard, he'd take a moment, reset, and figure it out.
Yeah, you're totally right. He left that out-of-bounds placement well behind him so that he could move on with, aggression and composure the whole way. Here are those replays. This was that moment where he tagged that the red paint.
Now he did move onto the axe on the right from that, so I don't know how that will be assessed.
Well,
but that would be the only point of contention.
Pending message.
Otherwise, a great climb.
Yeah, that was the only cause for concern, and we'll have to see what the ruling is in the end. But assuming that he's allowed to continue and that result is allowed to count, Tyler Kempney sits in a very comfortable first place with a minute buffer, which would mean that Keenan Griscom would need to top the entire route in under 7 minutes.
Which is a tall order. That will be difficult. Not impossible.
Bearing in mind, we haven't mentioned yet, Vince, Keenan Griscom is our youngest competitor of the entire competition. 16 years old.
"16 years old, but he had a very strong showing in both the preliminary routes, and I think we're going to see something special here from Keenan."
Well, there's only one way to find out, and as he starts his attempt, we'll see how interesting this gets.
I can tell you one other thing Keenan has going for him. He's from my hometown of Arvada, Colorado, and it sets you up for success in life.
So those are the standings right now. Top for Tyler Kempney, Kevin Lindlow in second, Cody Stevenson in third, and Tomas Gerlein in joint third. Although his score is lower, so he'll end up being in fourth.
Well, he's moving smooth up this.
He really is. And fun fact about Keenan is Tyler Kempney is actually his coach. So they have a very tight relationship, those two. If there's one thing I know about Tyler, he wouldn't rather anyone beat him other than Keenan. Very supportive. Fellow Team Ice Scoop athlete. That snow's really coming down again, Vince.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up around here. Shouldn't affect them too much on the tower. It's hard to tell as much from the video, but it overhangs enough to shelter them from the snowfall from above. But from the camera angle, certainly you can see a lot of it.
Can't wait to see what time he's reached the tower here. It feels like he's been climbing for a minute. He's been absolutely flying.
Liam, I think this is the fastest, yes it is, that we've seen anybody get to the tower so far.
Unbelievable. Before it even started, Vince, we said, you know, if he wants to be in with a chance of winning, he needs to climb from bottom to top in under 7 minutes. Right now, that doesn't feel like as much of a tall order as I thought. Let's see if he gets sucked in. Just about makes that clip.
So far, he's reading it well.
Solid kicks and confident movement from the 16-year-old climber.
This bottom portion has the more technical elements, particularly that.
I mean, he is just cruising right now. Doesn't look particularly troubled by any of the moves. Doesn't look fazed by any of the holds. He's making this look like a warm-up. Just such precision, Vince. He's literally every single hold. Looked at it, places the pick, no readjustment, and just goes.
Yes, there hasn't been much hesitation on his part at all. Just a little repositioning to get that reach. First time we've seen that move.
Nice figure four there, and often that can just lock in the axe. When you're on those insecure holds, it's not necessarily about the extra reach, it's sometimes just about the extra stability. Keenan Griscom is moving really confidently with 3 minutes on the clock, and he's advancing now to that final clip before he hits the free hanging box.
He
still has 2 minutes 50 on the clock, but remember, he needs to finish faster than Tyler Kempney if he wants to win. So in reality, he's actually got about a minute and a half to get to the top of this route. This is the challenge now, Vince, because he doesn't know how fast Tyler got up there. He doesn't even know if Tyler topped. And he has to figure out, does he play it safe and take his time, or does he go full bore and accelerate through this upper section?
And I think right now, with this is where it becomes much more physically difficult. He's really just going to try his best to make each next move.
Places that figure 4 over his left hand. And after the blistering pace he set lower down, he feels like he has slowed ever so slightly. Oh, and he cuts loose onto one hand.
Wow, that was an incredible lock off. That was essentially a one-arm pull-up.
You know, just after 7 minutes of climbing. Really showing us what he's made of right now. And if I'm not mistaken, looking at the clock, Tyler Kempney has got the first place, but we're going to have to wait for the judges and the stopwatch to... Oh, he's off!
He's off.
I don't need to say anything, because that was a sensational effort from Keenan Griscom. He's climbed all the way up there in a sensationally fast time, but he hasn't topped, which means he will be in second place behind Tyler Kempney, who we can now provisionally say is the official winner of the 2021 Ouray Ice Festival Elite Mixed Competition. Vince, what were your thoughts of that climb?
Yeah, he did incredibly well. Young climber, but climbed like somebody who's been at it for a while. And the strength was unbelievable to see that display of strength up high on the tower. As he's coming down now, you look at his face, it's hard to tell if he's actually, is he really pumped or is he just disappointed? It could be a little bit of both.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Could be a little bit of both. Well, what an amazing effort from the 16-year-old climber. Vince commented that it looks like he's been at it a while. He is only 16, but he's been climbing for 13 of those years, which explains how he moved through this upper section of the route with such ease. From start to finish, Keenan Griscom looked totally in control. And then as we became that little bit higher up onto the box, fatigue started to show. A couple of slower decisions on the holds. And we saw him slip past the time set by Tyler Kempney to the top. And then it was this point here as he placed his right tool into the barrel. Just lost his grip. You see that foot popped and he didn't quite have anything else in the bank to hold on to that to the ice axe as his whole body cut loose, and so that was him out of there. Incredible effort and a well-deserved second place for the 16-year-old climber.
So I'm here with Tyler Kempney. Although we don't have the official standings yet, he did make it to the highest point on the route. Tyler, how did it feel to get all the way to the top logs?
It felt really good, yeah. I think I kept really good composure up until getting on the logs, and my feet kept going everywhere, but it felt great. Yeah.
What did you do to get back into control once you lost that control?
I kicked my feet back into the wall, and that really stabilized my upper body so I could keep going.
So you're able to make that final clip with those stabilized feet.
Yep.
And then again, how did it feel to watch your teammates, especially Keenan, go up there, kind of vying against you for that top place?
Oh man, I mean, it's always good. We're always cheering each other on. It doesn't really matter who wins. We just all need to climb as hard as we can type thing. So we're just, you know, if we do well, we want the other person to do better type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you think you put in your best effort today?
Oh, I think so.
Or do you have more in you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I put in a pretty good effort. I just got down and I'm still a little winded, but yeah, I think I put in my best effort.
Cool. And then it's snowing now. Did the snow affect your effort at all? It's so
Nope.
overhanging that it's...
Oh yeah, the snow was, you don't even notice it.
Yeah, it's just nice ambiance, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Cool.
it makes you remember that it's winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
We'll see you at awards.
Yeah.
So that was Tyler Kempney there, who at the moment has a top in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Second place is Keenan Griscom, who just climbed. Amazing effort from him. Third place and a bronze medal will go to Kevin Lindlaw, followed by Cody Stevenson, Tomas Gerlein, Liam Foster, JJ, and Andrew Lamb. Now, of course, there is contention about Tyler Kempney's top. There was that out-of-bounds moment where he placed his tool on that red line, and I do know that the judges are looking at the footage now and whether or not it was an illegal use or whether it was just a touch and then recovery. So we'll have more information on that soon, but as it stands right now, that is the results. Your top three: bronze medal to Kevin Lindlaw, silver medal to Keenan Griscom, and gold medal to Tyler Kempney. While we're looking at that, don't forget that you can tune in on Monday at 1700 hours, that's 5 p.m. GMT, or at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for more ice climbing action. The UIAA Ice Climbing European Championships in Champagny-en-Vanoise will be brought to you by Outdoor Research, and you can find those on the UIAA YouTube or Facebook channels. Of course, don't forget that we have a whole nother year before next year's event, but January 20th to the 23rd, 2022 is the date to mark your calendar for the next Ouray Ice Festival. This was Tyler Kempney's dabbing of the hold. So what we're looking at here is that right hand, not the left hand. The left hand's in the ice and we see that. The question is, did he make progress with the right hand whilst illegally using the left hand? That is the question. You can touch it and recover, but what does he do? Let's watch again. That's the left hand in the out of bounds zone, and there's the right hand movement. I think, according to the rules, and I am not a judge, but strictly speaking, I believe that that is where his attempt should end, because he did make progress. I might be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but let's find out from Brooke now. Seems that we haven't quite got Brooke yet, but that was Keenan Griscom there.
Yes, Liam, it did look from our perspective that he was over the boundary and made progress of it. Of course, we were only seeing it from a telephoto lens on the camera, so it may not be exactly where he had it. I'm sure the judges had a different view and were able to get a better perspective on that, and it will be interesting to see how that comes about. It's always unfortunate for an otherwise great climb if it was something just on a minor technicality like that. And as I mentioned, many of the World Cup competitors have had the nightmares about those red lines that you just inadvertently crossed, but they are what they are.
So although we were just hearing the final results, it seems that Keenan may have won instead. So we're going to talk to Keenan here. Keenan, how does it feel to maybe have gotten first place?
Feels unreal. I also heard that Tyler just topped, so it feels a little weird that he might have be falling in second or being disqualified.
And you and Tyler are good friends, and he's your coach and mentor. So, I mean, what have you learned from him, and like, how does it feel to be competing with your teammate in that way?
It's so fun to compete with friends and teammates. It's amazing when they climb well because you get to like celebrate with them. You know, I was really happy for them. And then even when they do well and you did great, it's still like sometimes more of a bummer that they did poor than you did good.
Yeah.
So it's got ups and downs.
And so talking about your climb itself, what you kind of lost your footing up there and kind of lost control. What do you think you could have done to stay in control?
Honestly, I didn't feel like I climbed very well. Climbed slower. At least it felt like I was climbing slow on Aphrodite. Got a little bit more pumped than I would have liked to. Just more tired in general.
Yeah, so you wish you would have like maybe kept a little bit of that strength for the top to be able to handle those swinging elements.
Yeah, I just wish I moved a little smoother on Aphrodite so I'd have more energy for the wall.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Keenan, and we'll see you at the podium.
Thank you.
So that was Keenan Griscom, who you're seeing there is in that top spot. Those are still provisional results, but that looks like the judges' ruling has said that Tyler Kempney did advance off that out-of-bounds zone. So 8th place, very sad for Tyler Kempney. 7th place is Andrew Lamb. 6th place is JJ. 5th place is Liam Foster. 4th place is Tomas Gerlein. And then the podiums, a silver medal for Cody Stevens. Silver medal? A bronze medal for Cody Stevenson. A silver medal for Kevin Lindlaw. And a gold medal for 16-year-old Keenan Griscom. Absolutely incredible men's final. As I mentioned before, we have next year's event coming. You've got to make sure you mark it in your calendar. January 20th to the 23rd of 2022. Hopefully we'll have everybody there in person for another spectacular event. And if you can't be there, then make sure you tune in. Hopefully we'll have just as much, if not a better broadcast for you guys watching from all over the world. We're going to have a podium ceremony in about 15 minutes. We won't turn the broadcast off. If you do want to watch that podium and figure out who was the official winner, then make sure you stay tuned. As I mentioned earlier, please do donate if you can to the Ouray Ice Park non-profit. Just do that on OIP to 56651 or at the website. Remember, on Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time or at 5 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, you can watch the UIAA Ice Climbing European Championships in Champagny-en-Vanoise. That's brought to you by Outdoor Research, and you can find that on the UIAA's YouTube or on Facebook. My name is Liam Lonsdale. It's been an absolute privilege to host the first broadcast in the 26th edition of the Ouray Ice Festival. We hope you stay for the podiums, and if not, we hope to see you next year. Thank you so much.
more down there than he's held up? I don't think so. I've been looking. Might be here somewhere.
Communities have struggled with slow and unreliable internet, and therefore can't take advantage of new tools and opportunities. Our goal at Clear Networks is to change all that. As a local company, we've partnered with local communities like Ouray to provide students, businesses, and residents the best opportunity to succeed by providing the best internet service possible. Clear Networks. Fiber internet is here.
In Colorado, we've got plenty of ways to play. We head for the hills. We wade in the water. We reach for the sky. And we're not afraid to go out and chase the stars. Here, we never stop finding new ways to play. From parks and pools to open space and trails. Every Colorado lottery game you buy helps fund the places Colorado plays. So play on, Colorado.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Ouray. We're here at the Ouray Ice Park for the podium ceremony of the 2021 and 26th edition of the Ouray Ice Festival. Just a few moments, we're going to be hearing from Peter O'Neill, the Executive Director, and then we will have our podium ceremony.
Quite literally, I guess. And I'm waiting for Raven to point at me. Good to go? Okay. So, I want to introduce first and foremost, my friend, my colleague, the owner of the Ouray Chalet Inn, where some of you may be staying, and the president of the Ouray Ice Park, Inc. board, Laura Slavichka. So let me turn it over to Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a wonderful event today. We can't thank you guys enough for coming out, making this happen, from our staff to Marcus for putting up a hell of a route, for, of course, the competitors. First and foremost, the community of Ouray. You know that old joke that it takes a village? It really does around here. So my hat's off to you guys. We can't do it without you. And now we will do the awards. We'll start off with the ladies. Excellent showing today. I did watch from home because for the first time ever, we were able to stream. And so, third place, Catalina. Yeah, and of course I'm in the way. Then in second place, we've got Angela. You're right over here. Congratulations. Should mention real quick, folks, that our third and second place awards are also designed and made, of course, by our wonderful, kind of talented ice farming staff from Lucas and Xander as well. So again, it does, and Annie did the glass, I'm sorry. Can't forget Annie. The guys aren't that good. and in first place, Corey. Yay! And here are the ladies, mixed elite climbing champions for 2021 at the Ouray Ice Park. All right. Thank you, ladies. Yeah, no falling off the boxes, no puns intended.
Careful there, you don't have a rope.
Moving on to the men's comp. Again, excellent showing. You guys really stole the show. We got in third place, Cody. second place, we've got Kevin. Good job. And in first place, Keenan. Here are the winners for the 2021 Elite Mixed Climbing in the men's division. Here they are. And here, back over to Peter. Thank you, gentlemen. Great showing.
Steve.
Do I really need that? I do? Okay. So my comments are only about 30 minutes long. I'm kidding, obviously. So it's truly amazing. Think about where we were on Wednesday when you were all gathered in the same place. And what an amazing 3 days it's been. And tomorrow we still have the speed comp. So it's not over. We won't be live streaming it. I want to give you a little insight. What's that? Oh, and that's my little insight on me. Every morning at 7 a.m. for the last 12 years, I've gotten an alert on my iPhone, and it says, "What are you grateful for?" It's spectacular to start every day being grateful about something. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to say last night, anticipating my alarm this morning, what I am truly grateful for is all of you, all of the competitors. So give yourself a hand. It would not have happened without you. Truly, we obviously couldn't have pulled off a comp without competitors. You have brought great joy to me, to my colleagues, to the city of Ouray, and I think the ice climbing community. So you've got a lot to be proud about. There are also a lot of people to thank. I had to go through the credits last night to make sure they were accurate, and I counted 94 people and entities, and in some of those entities there were obviously multiple people, and that's just the folks that were recognized on the credits, and then there are dozens and dozens of volunteers and local business partners down in town that help make it happen. And I'd like to ask for your help, the competitors' help. I've got 3 things. Kendra, Lance, Bailey, someone will be sending around some feedback. We'd love you to tell us what worked, what didn't work, because we want to make it better next year. So that's one thing. Please, when you get that email, tell us, because one of the reasons we're here today is because we heard from a lot of competitors back in September about what this should be. It wasn't my idea to put plywood up so that you guys could kick. That was someone else's idea, one of the competitors, for example. Number 2, spread the word among the community, among our sponsors. In order to do this, we need our sponsors to step up, and you need to talk to them, like I'm sure Keenan is going to talk to his dad and say, yeah, I think camp needs to step up next year. I got to pick on you, Glenn. And 3, please vigorously spread the word on social media about what an awesome event this was, because that's what we need. We need people to say, yeah, Ouray is where it's at. This has been beyond my wildest dreams of what to expect. It was professional. The energy was palpable. Someone said he sure it wasn't palatable. Actually, it was probably palatable too, but mostly palpable. For me, the word I use, it was truly inspiring. And I want to call out some people because there's a very special thanks to several other people. Where's Marcus? You know, Marcus Garcia wanted to be competing with all of you. You know, if you read Ouray Buhay's original article in Rock and Ice, the intention was for Nathan Kutcher to come down as a UIAA route setter. And obviously with COVID, he couldn't do that. And so we reached out to Marcus, and he decided he wouldn't compete and he would help make the route for you folks. So special thanks to him. Kendra drove all the way from Minnesota to be here. And she told me a funny story. She did all the driving. She was with her boyfriend. He doesn't know how to drive a stick shift. and where's Lance? You know, Lance Sullins from Peak Mountain Guides in town. Lance sort of put his business on hold to be here, paid his guides to help belay. So without Lance as the comp director, again, I don't think we could have pulled this off. So thank you, Lance. And Xander and all the ice farmers, will you guys raise your hands? I mean, yeah. They make the park happen every year. Who else? Where's Bailey? Bailey Wood, who's our marketing manager and social media maven, she was making sure this was shared around the world. Couldn't have done that without her. Where's Rob Savoy? This is Rob's 26th year as a volunteer. We wouldn't have power. The cameras wouldn't be rolling if it wasn't for Rob. So thank you, Rob, again for the 26th year. And a person most of you never saw, maybe he's still listening, Liam Lonsdale, who was the voice of the competition, and Vince Anderson weighed in to help him with the commentary. But the best in the business was announcing this. So when you guys go home tonight and watch it, listen to Liam. He made all of you look so spectacular. I was pretty pleased.
I think their climbing made them look spectacular.
And where's Rob Simon? There's Rob, the executive producer, the head of Burst Marketing, worked closely with the folks from Citizen Pictures. Rob was instrumental in making this happen. And then representing the state of Colorado and OEDIT, which is the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, is Donald Zuckerman, and Donald heads up the Colorado Film Office. So he was one of the early advocates to say, I can help you make this happen. And it was the state of Colorado, the Colorado Lottery, the city of Ouray that stepped up to get us the money because, as I said on air, I thought the internet was free and cheap. It is, but live streaming is not. So thank you, everyone. I guess the other thing you did, you followed my directions, right? I said early on, have fun. I think everyone had fun. So that's a wrap. I'm going to shut up. See you all next year.
One of the greatest tools anyone has access to is the internet. Unfortunately, many communities have struggled with slow and unreliable internet, and therefore can't take advantage of new tools and opportunities. Our goal at Clear Networks is to change all that. As a local company, we've partnered with local communities like Ouray to provide students, businesses, and residents the best opportunity to succeed by providing the best internet service possible. Clear Networks. Fiber internet is here.
In Colorado, we've got plenty of ways to play. We head for the hills. We wade in the water. We reach for the sky. And we're not afraid to go out and chase the stars. Here, we never stop finding new ways to play. From parks and pools to open space and trails. Every Colorado lottery game you buy helps fund the places Colorado plays. So play on, Colorado.